Thank you for joining us on the eve of Mobility Week as we unveil our first zero-emission, all-electric bus to go into Lynx operations. Mobility Week is a statewide celebration of promoting safer, more efficient transportation choices and an ideal time to think about how we can improve multimodal options to reduce traffic congestion and benefit the environment and improve public health. It's exciting to cut the ribbon on Station 9, serving the Rosemont neighborhood. And along with being the home of some of the very best firefighters Orlando has to offer and having some of the best equipment, Station 9 was also built with firefighters' health and safety first and foremost. So the station was designed to promote diversity and inclusion in the workplace and includes private individual crew bunk rooms, showers and restrooms, and a secure room for special uses such as nursing.
Trailing Thoughts from Shingle Creek Trail. I've never seen more animals on a bike ride. Is that another water bird? They're like mini seaplanes. Imagine having the power of flight, only to spend so much of your day underwater. That's got to be really confusing and terrifying to the fish.
I remember very well, like 20 months, almost 2 years ago, Justin, our general manager, was meeting with the PKZ and the fantastic program of Black Bee Honey. We had a tasting in the room over there. We loved the product, we loved the story, and we decided that right away we want to be partner with them. We want to be working with them and take the product to the next level and make it known to the public.
I've been waiting for this for weeks. I gotta tell you, I am so ready to do this. I even have the bed ready. What? So when you get home, we can get really dirty.
Gotta go. Hey! Here you go. With all this compost, we're gonna have the best plants in the neighborhood.
Good afternoon and welcome to the August 15th, 2022 meeting of the Orlando City Council. We're going to begin today with the invocation and pledge led today by Commissioner Patty Sheehan.
Thank you, Mayor Dyer, and I'll be reading a poem today by Amanda Gorman. It's called Hymn for the Hurting. Everything hurts, our hearts shadowed and strange, minds made muddied and mute. We carry tragedy terrifying and true, and yet none of it is new. We knew it as home, as horror, as heritage. Even our children cannot be children, cannot be. Everything hurts. It's a hard time to be alive, and even harder to stay that way. We're burdened to live out these days while at the same time blessed to outlive them. This alarm is how we know we must be altered, that we must differ or die, that we must triumph or try. Thus, while hate cannot be terminated, it can be transformed into a love that lets us live. May we not just grieve, but give. May we not just ache, but act. May our signed right to bear arms never blind our sight from shared harm. May we choose our children over chaos. May another innocent never be lost. Maybe everything hurts, our hearts shadowed and strange, but only when everything hurts, may everything change. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Commissioner Sheehan. I'm going to call the meeting to order. Madam Clerk, would you call the roll and make a determination of a quorum, please?
Commissioner Gray?
Here.
Commissioner Ortiz?
Here.
Commissioner Stewart?
Here.
Commissioner Sheehan?
here.
Commissioner Hill?
Here.
Commissioner Burns?
Here.
Mayor Dyer?
Here.
Mayor, we have a quorum with all members present.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Let's take up the minutes from the workshop agenda review and City Council meetings of July 18, 2022. Motion by Commissioner Ortiz, second by Commissioner Sheehan. All in favor indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, and so the motion carries. We have no awards, presentations, and recognitions today, so I'll move right into the mayor's update. And on behalf of the City of Orlando, I want to send condolences to the family and the friends and colleagues of Jim Harrison, who passed away last week. Trim was a true public servant during his tenure as Lynx CEO and with the Orange County government, and was dedicated to making the community a better place. Jim served admirably a number of years and was an expert in transportation issues for the county. And when we lost our CEO at Lynx, Jim agreed to serve on an interim basis, even though he had planned his retirement from Orange County government. And then we made him the permanent director, and he agreed to stay on. So he served when he was supposed to be taking his years of enjoying life after work, and unfortunately was taken too soon to then eventually enjoy his retirement, but did so much for our community in the area of transportation, and he will certainly be missed. So I ask you to just take a moment of silence in Jim's honor. Thank you. Okay, I want to recognize a couple of our city commissioners who are going to be either a year older today or a year older on Thursday, and that is Commissioner Hill, whose birthday is today. You're not a whole year older, you're just actually one day older, but we're marking the year. And Commissioner Ortiz will celebrate his birthday on the 18th. So, and somebody's going to say my birthday was a week ago, and it was. So you can help us sing happy birthday to all of our Leos that serve on the Orlando City Council. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Leos. Happy birthday to you. Okay, thank you. And it's good to have Commissioner Ortiz joining us, not virtually, because he's the best voice we have up here. I don't think there's much debate or discussion about that.
Okay, last weekend was the annual conference of the Florida League of Cities, where the league celebrated its 100th anniversary. We were well represented there with league past president, Commissioner Tony Ortiz, league board of directors member, Commissioner Robert Stewart, and Heather Fagan, our chief of staff, spoke there on a well-received panel called Responding to Mass Shootings, Advice and Assistance for City Leaders. Unfortunately, lots of members of our city family over the last 6 years have had the opportunity to participate in panels all over the country to talk about our Pulse response, but we're always happy to pay that forward in terms of being able to let other people benefit from some of our unfortunate expertise. And finally, Commissioner Regina Hill has been elected parliamentarian of the Florida Black Caucus of local elected officials. Congratulations, Commissioner Hill. We've got a lot of good ceremonial stuff and people making advancements and new blood in our fire department. So I'm happy to say that we officially swore in Chief Salazar as the 21st Orlando Fire Chief, and he's hit the ground running the last 3 weeks. I don't think he slept more than 2 hours a night and is up running around Lake Eola Park in the mornings and the afternoons and getting his thoughts together. So Chief, stand up and let us officially welcome you to the Orlando family. And next up on Wednesday, August 24th, unless he finds some way to hide on that day, which we're not going to let him do that, at the Dr. Phillips Center for the Performing Arts Center at Steinmetz, we will swear in the 49th Police Chief, Orlando soon-to-be Police Chief Eric Smith. So we look forward to that, Chief, and congratulations. We look forward to your leadership. And I have two items of note that I want to mention on the consent agenda. And the first is H1, which is a $1.2 million grant from the Department of Justice for next generation body-worn cameras for our OPD. Advancements in technology is critical for the public safety of both the officers and the public. We've had body-worn cameras since 2014, but these next generation cameras will really help us with public transparency and easier to use for the police officers to use. And we want to thank Congresswoman Val Demings and Congresswoman Stephanie Murphy for pursuing the funding. It was a highly competitive process, and they saw us through the budget process. So thank you, Congresswoman Demings and Congresswoman Murphy. The other thing I want to mention on the consent agenda is an item to honor the late Father Nelson Pender. We will vote to change Marquise Court in the Clear Lake neighborhood to Nelson Pender Circle, and that name change was initiated by the residents who live on that street to honor their neighbors. So another well-deserved recognition of Father Pender. With that, we're going to move on to the consent agenda, which is a number of items acted upon through a single vote. Council, we let each of our council members comment briefly like I did. On items on the consent agenda and updating you on important happenings in their district. We rotate the order that we do that. Commissioner Sheehan is first up.
Thank you, Mayor, and I always try to be brief. I always leave them wanting more, never want to have them wanting less, so it's all good.
All right.
I had the privilege this weekend of meeting the openly gay Prince of India, Manvedra Singh Gohil, who actually presented me with this lovely scarf. And we celebrated he and his husband at Unity Church because they are not legally able to marry in India. So we had a little celebration for them, which was really, really lovely. So we welcomed the Prince to Orlando. He came to the Pulse Labyrinth. He was very impressed. And his whole, he's actually a counselor in India as well. And he's very interested in helping transgender and LGBTQ youth, and he was really interested in a lot of the programs we have here in Orlando. So we welcome the Prince and his husband, who is American, Duke Deandra, and it was a pleasure to have them here and in our fine city. I also want to thank David Dunn, the Thornton Park sign. He actually managed to not only fix the sign, but match the pineapple that was on top after I got hit by a car. So I don't know how David found that exact thing, but David, thank you, good job. And this neighborhood he's not here. I can't believe I'm bragging on him, he's not here. But he did a remarkable job, so thank you, David. The Thornton Park people, they were worried that it wasn't gonna look good, and it looks absolutely wonderful, so thank you so much. On the consent agenda today, we have the replacement of the audio-visual equipment at Lake Eola. That's very important. I've seen so many children disappointed when they go to do an event or something like that at Lake Eola, and they go to sing and you can't even hear them. So that's really important, and so we need to make sure we fix that. Rooftop solar at Englewood, we need to make sure that we're compensated by net metering by OUC. So congratulations, Commissioner. I know you're with me on solar energy and making sure that we get compensated properly for that. On the agenda item today on the Municipal Planning Board as well, Maxine's on Shine. They're going to be able to keep their beautiful pavilion area. I'm delighted that staff worked with them because it's a wonderful neighborhood amenity, and thank you so much to all the staff that work with Maxine on that important issue. Today we also have Purple Ocean Seafood Bar at 1110 North Mills, Small Business Facade Grant. I'm delighted to see that on the agenda today as well. On item D1, the Orlando Land Trust, the sculpture at Lake Eola Park. They're going to be putting a beautiful butterfly sculpture done by a local artist, which I love seeing that. And so that will be coming to Lake Eola Park soon. And Mayor, I think that was pretty short, but that was a lot of the items on the agenda today. And thank you very much. That's all I had.
Thank you, Commissioner Sheehan. Commissioner Hill.
Thank you, Mayor Dyer, and good afternoon, everyone. I would like to also ask the community for one of our trailblazers and fighters for all type of equality rights, say a prayer for Susanna Randolph. She has been diagnosed, it's public, her husband, which is our tax collector, Scott Randolph, posted it, and I've reached out to her via social media and text, have been diagnosed with stage 2 melanoma. She's a fighter, so we know she's gonna push right through this, and she starts her immunotherapy this week, so let's all keep Susanna in our prayers. And also, as Mayor Dyer mentioned, great to see Father Pender, another trailblazer here in Central Florida when it comes to equity and equality, especially civil rights. Marquise Court being named after him, which Mayor Dyer stated was led by the residents there in the Clear Lake community. But if Miss Fannie Williams can stand up and take a bow or applause, which led the way with that, and let Father Pender know that Friday before his demise that this was on the agenda. So he passed on knowing that we're going to pass this, hopefully. I know earlier this morning through the leadership of Paul Lewis and many of the mayors, committee with Agent and Kathy Russell and Dean Grandin, we talked about livable ages and how we're moving forward as a city and making sure we secure our senior housing and all things towards a quality of living for seniors. I'm just glad today that on council we are hopefully be passing for more affordable senior housing in District 5 with Fern Grove, and staff and mayor has been working on this now, I think about 2.5 to 3 years, trying to bring this to council. So it's great to see it here on council. On 7/19, myself and those at the Northwest Community Center, along with Boy Scouts of America, held our first day camp post-COVID, probably about 2.5, 3 years ago. Mayor Dyer swore in about 5 packs right here at City Council with Boy Scouts of America throughout District 5. First time ever in City Hall, and it was just monumentous. And so they started this day camp with scout dens throughout the city. That's now in many of our recreation centers. It was enjoyed by all of them, from archery to paddleball and a whole lot of different fun activities that there at the Northwest Center. So I'd like to thank the club master, Eric Kresser, and his liaison, Thomas Buckner. Something that it's a little bit different than most PACs throughout the nation is that our club masters and den masters are city employees. So they all aren't volunteers. They've all been background checked, and I know some of the concerns that many folks have when we have volunteers working with our youth. So I'm just thankful that Mayor Dyer supported this initiative to allow our staff to become club masters to care for our children, and as they grew also. On Wednesday, 7/21, I was able to bring greetings along with my colleague Commissioner Burns to the Jack and Jill 45th National Convention that had over 1,500 mother members, because they're all mothers, no men included, sorry about that, but mother members throughout the nation, and guests were in attendance celebrating the incredible contributions that foundation made in the last 50 years. They also went throughout the city and county and contributed book pack giveaways and gave about 1,500 to the District 5 Back to School giveaway. And I'd like to thank their national president, Mrs. Cornelia Brown, and a special thank you to Dr. Jocelyn Henson, who coordinated this partnership for District 5 here at Lake Larned Park. With that, it was a huge success. It was about 3,000 folks in attendance. We gave about 2,500 book packs filled through the great partnership of Orlando Magic, Orlando City Soccer, and then A1 Orange that gave our youth throughout District 5 in the city. It was no boundaries. You didn't have to show that you came from District 5. So we served all families and youth that came to what we call the Jewel of the West Side, Lake Larned, with about $15,000 of new undergarments that was collected by A1 Orange's supporters and friends and business owners. And I really thank them for that contribution. I know many of the parents and grandparents can tell you when you go to the store, supplies isn't the heaviest lift anymore. It's really undergarments that cost the most. And when you're on a limited income, that makes a major, a monumental difference. And then, of course, thank you to Second Harvest, which provided fresh fruits and vegetables, meats, and non-perishables to over 1,300 families here in the city of Orlando. And we couldn't do this without the 37 vendors that came to the Northwest corridor there at Lake Larned that had resources from education to health and wellness to mental health, community resources, employers offering free services, and also jobs right there on the site. So thank you all. We had a kids zone, free food and drinks, and as I stated, just a multitude of citizens that was served. Then on that Wednesday, 8/3, which is always something that I cherish. Back in 2015, our Lieutenant Deborah Clayton, that's passed, as you all know, came to Mayor Dyer and myself and asked to do a youth job crime prevention initiative. And at that time, we had about 300 kids that came to Jones High and signed up for jobs, and we didn't have enough jobs, right, and funding for these kids at that time. And through the support of Lisa Early, Rodney Williams, Brenda March, we were able to at least start that back to school crime prevention with OPD. It was all a collaborative effort of the community, law enforcement, recreation, and of course council. And now this year, we had a grand total of 700 youth throughout the city of Orlando that had summer jobs and completed those jobs. Not one kid was fired or one kid quit, which is significant. And then we worked with Wells Fargo, and they gave them training with financial literacy and also free savings accounts. So those kids are learning how to also save as they earn. So I'm really excited about how that program, through the leadership of one of Paramore Kids Zone and Mayor Dyer's youth at that time, which went on to become a Morehouse man that came matriculated out of Paramore, out of some of the tough times, to now lead this youth job employment program. Talking about how these initiatives work when we invest in our youth and those in the community and paying it forward, and how it trickles back down to those communities. So just thank this council for their support in our zones and most definitely in our youth programs. Then on Saturday the 6th, we had the last day of summer drive-in movie night there at Lake Lana Park, which we premiered King Richard, which was a wonderful story in spite of what we saw at the Oscars. Sorry about that. About the tennis legends Vanessa and Serena Williams, and we chose that particular movie because it kind of replicated the lives in the urban core of some of the youth that are there that might have to overcome many of the obstacles that Venus and her sister had to overcome, but having a faithful and dedicated father that saw the greater in their future and did not give up and had faith. So we wanted those children to sit there with their parents, in which they laid out blankets there on the football field and watched that movie and was inspired. We were inspired. We gave them tennis rackets out to where now, of course, we're gonna be there in District 3, that borderlines District 5 in the Mercy Drive corridor, there in the Packing District, where hopefully we'll be creating new Venuses and Victors and Sams and Serenas there in that new Packing District on those beautiful tennis courts and clay courts with the partnership of USTA to create ball boys and ball girls. So our future's bright when it comes to our community efforts in our community centers and all the different resources that we have. And upcoming events there in District 5 through our CRA and this council's support. We do believe in supporting small businesses and incentivizing those businesses, especially in our CRA. One that we incentivized even during COVID was Dexter's Birdland, which is Montel is there, that the chicken's so good, you'll slap your mama. Chief haven't had to go out yet and arrest anybody for slapping somebody's mama yet, but the chicken and just the service is impeccable and it's very down to earth. So they'll be celebrating their first anniversary with a block party right there at 595 West Church Street this upcoming Saturday. Also, I'll be joining OPD, something that I look forward to every year with my liaison and many of the liaisons to the annual national conference on preventing crime there in Kissimmee with this, I believe she's the general attorney, Ashley Moody, that puts this on every year. It primarily focuses on the urban core and closing and bridging the gap between law enforcement and our community and youth. On Saturday the 27th, we will be celebrating the 100 years of Callahan celebration at the Callahan Center, which was the original Jones High School 100 years ago. So that's hopefully be well attended by many of those there in the Callahan community. With a great partner, Mr. Freddie Clayton of Orlando Rescue Mission, will be celebrating there at their Women's Coalition at 1623 West Washington, the neighborhood splash party, which I look forward to. He just really does so much when it comes to addressing the insecurities of those experiencing homelessness, and they receive no taxpayer dollars or government funding. It's all philanthropic donations that they receive there to maintain the Men's and Women's Coalition, and doing a phenomenal job. Then on 8:30, we'll be doing the ribbon cutting there in Creative Village, Paramore, for Luminary Green, which will be honoring many of the trailblazers that are now deceased there at Luminary Green. And from what I hear, I haven't been there because it's been closed off, that parks and the recreation department and our contractors have done a phenomenal job, and that's all I have.
Thank you, Commissioner Hill. We'll move to Commissioner Burns.
All right, thank you, Mayor. Good afternoon, fellow commissioners. First, I'd like to start off by welcoming our Fire Chief, Chief Salazar. Had an opportunity to attend the change of command ceremony. Was well done, and looking forward to working with you and hearing more of your vision. Also looking forward to working with our soon-to-be Chief of Police, Deputy Chief Eric Smith. Also, I'd like to just say congratulations and thank you to Lisa Early and her team at FPR for securing the federal 21st Century After School Grant for the James R. Smith Center. This funding is designed to enhance the after-school programs as well as fund STEM projects and support curriculum development at Eccleston Elementary. And I am a product of Eccleston Elementary, so it's good to see additional resources going into that school. And so the funding overall is really focused to increase and improve the overall scholastic achievement of the students at Eccleston. And it's a five-year grant, $500,000 a year. So again, much needed resources going in to help support the academic achievement of the students at Eccleston Elementary. Also at the end of July, I hosted my back to school bash at the brand new Grand Avenue Neighborhood Center. We served over 500 families with over 1,000 backpacks. So just thank you to the Paramore and Holden Heights Kids Zone, Orlando Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta, and many more for your partnership. Also, on September 10th, I'm asking District 6 to join me for my biannual town hall meeting so that I can hear your concerns, your questions, and your ideas. More details are to come, but it will be hosted at Grand Avenue Neighborhood Center at 11 o'clock a.m. For more information, you can reach out to my office at 407-246-2006. Also, on September 16th, I hope you all will join me for my second annual Children's Celebrity Golf Tournament, where we raise money for scholarships for students in District 6. Last year, we were able to give out over $6,000 in scholarships, and we're looking forward to doing even more this year. On the council agenda, I just wanted to highlight item D2, which is a memorandum of understanding with the Orlando Science Center. Orlando Science Center was awarded a 3-year grant from NASA to provide neighborhood science. And educational curriculum comprised of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics activities for 4th and 5th graders. So by approving this attached memorandum, we will be authorizing the Science Center to operate the program out of our Grand Avenue Neighborhood Center. And so again, it will provide weekly and after-school and summer STEM programming at no cost to the children registered at the Grand Avenue Center. So excited about bringing these resources to our community. And Mayor, that completes my comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Burns. Commissioner Gray.
Thank you, Mayor. A couple of brief announcements, and I'll get to the agenda. On the 21st of July, attended the Orlando Economic Partnerships open house for their new offices at 200 South Orange, which is also known as the former SunTrust Tower. But I want to congratulate them. That space gives them the resources they need to continue to try to attract some new new businesses here to Orlando. So congrats to the OEP. Also on the 2nd of August, I joined the mayor, and we helped KPMG, the accounting firm, celebrate 125 years in business. And they celebrated that by making a pledge of $1 million to Lift Orlando, which is a needed resource. So that's great. Thank you to the KPMG folks. They also announced about 350 new jobs coming to Orlando. So that is a community partner that is kind of putting their money where their mouth is, and we're thrilled to have them here in Orlando. On the agenda, I had to declare conflict on item B7, which is an award to Presidio Network Solutions. They're a client in my private business, so I can't vote on that one, and I filed the paperwork with the clerk. And also, I'm going to vote no on one of the HPB items, item C3, that's case number 10138. 1617 East Washington. I just do not have any confidence in the developer builder, so I'm going to vote no on that one. And I've got a few comments when we get to the ordinances, Mayor, but that's all for now.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Ortiz.
Thank you, Mayor. Let me start by welcoming also Chief Salazar, and congratulations, Chief Smith. Great picks. On Tuesday, August 9th, we kicked off our 2022 Government Academy with some amazing residents who are ready to learn about each level of government. My goal is to provide them with resources to learn as much as they can so that in the future they will be able to use these tools to help themselves and those around them when government is involved. I'm excited for another great academy and look forward to graduation on October 25th. By the way, this one is in Spanish, so if you don't speak the lingo, wait until the next one in February. That's in English. This past weekend, as the mayor mentioned, I, along with other commissioners, attended the Florida League of Cities annual conference down in Hollywood, Florida. Congratulations to Ms. Heather Fagan and her great representation of the city of Orlando during the panel presentation on responding to mass shootings. There were great courses offered such as Don't Get Sued, How City Implements New Laws, The Arrogance of Fact, and the Persistence of Opinion Leading in a Time of Division, etc. Commissioner Stewart and Commissioner Hill were also present. All of the different committees met to decide on legislative priorities for this year and planned for flying to Washington to discuss these priorities at the federal level. All in all, the conference was a total success. Reporting from Orlando. Anyhow, on Thursday, August 25th, we will be hosting our District 2 Rock the House National Night Out Kickoff Party, and all of you are invited. Please join me, the Orlando Police Department and Orlando Fire Department, for a night of food and fun. National Night Out is a great way to bridge the gap between our residents and first responders, and it's one of the most anticipated District 2 events we host each year. Once again, happy birthday, Mayor, Commissioner Hill, and my aide, Megan Shaver. Her birthday is on the 23rd. So, on a personal note, these are challenging times, and we often overlooked the good doings of our staff. And I want to thank each and every member of the city, every staff. And I'm going to mention the 10 departments we have because they're all great. Police department, fire department, economic development to include code enforcement and permitting, public works, waste management, family parks and recreations, business and financial services, housing and community development, Orlando venues, transportation, and the executive offices. Most people out there, they expect government to function at a 200% rate, and they don't realize the sacrifices that are behind this. And our staff, day in and day out, all they think is about the well-being and the quality of life of our people and the ones that come and visit. So I just want to give them a huge shout out and thank you for all you do. And that's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you, Commissioner Ortiz, and we'll move on to Commissioner Stewart.
Thank you, Mayor, and let me cover the single most important thing I'll do and have done for the last 46 years. My wife and I celebrated our 46th wedding anniversary just a couple of weeks ago, so I'm thrilled about that, and I want to tell you how much I share often that I can't imagine a woman being with me for 46 days, and she has accomplished that for 46 years, so I'm thrilled about getting a chance to celebrate that. We went down to the Florida League of Cities as part of our celebration and got a chance to spend some time down there with friends, as well as watching Tony do his past president duties. And of course, congratulations to
Commissioner Hill on her parliamentarian. I'll bring the book in for you so you can have it. I've always liked Robert's Rules of Order. I have no idea why.
Commissioner Stewart, did you just tell us you celebrated your anniversary by going to
With the Florida League of Cities. That's
okay. You might not make 47.
That's how dedicated I am, Mayor. I want you to know. So anyway, if you follow me on Facebook, I will tell you the most fun thing we did for our anniversary was all my grandchildren made us dinner. And they went and fixed the dinner, and we had a surprise for my wife, and that was it was just really, really sweet. And of all the things I've done in the past couple of years, I get more comments on that on my Facebook than anything else about how did you get your grandchildren to do this, and it was really sweet. At the Florida League of Cities, congratulations to Heather. Thank you very much for the work. Where'd you go, Heather? Over there. Thank you very much for your presentation. I appreciate it. It was wonderful. It is important that cities prepare. Mayor, thank you for your leadership and making sure they're always prepared for those types of things. I want to mention a couple of things. Special thanks to Michael Hess from the Resiliency Plan Public Workshop that we had last week. Special thanks to all those who are involved in our Safety Splash. Had that at the College Park Neighborhood Center. We had probably about 190, 200 people that were there. So thrilled about that. A great way to kick off the year and appreciate that. I had a chance to tour the cannery and get a chance to see the topping off of the new juice stand. If somebody have not seen that at the Packing District, it's over at Princeton and North Orange Boston Trail. Now, they call it a juice stand is for the old timers who remember it when it used to be a juice stand. It'll end up being a coffee shop. But I remember driving by there when it actually was a juice stand. Special thanks to all the people that worked on our new beacon over on Corrine Drive. Thank you to Tanya and Chrissy and Cade and all of our transportation staff and getting that done. I appreciate the work they're all done over there. Mayor and I had a chance to go and help do a little bit of work on it and to bring some attention to it. I think it'll be a great asset over there. I want to say special thanks to all those who helped in the design work. One of the things that was important for me, I shared with the mayor, was that we wanted to be able to do the design work so it would not have to be replicated or duplicated or torn down when we go do the work in Corrine Drive. So it stays there, and it's a good investment for the long term beyond the remodeling and the renovation of that. I want to mention one special thing coming up, and that is that on August 25th, we have the Battle of College Park for the Commissioner's Trophy. Bishop Moore, and we won't meet again, I'll get a chance to brag about it, but Bishop Moore High School and Edgewater High School will be playing, and we're excited about that. It's a great way for our community to get together, and excited about both teams this year, and the team that beat Jones last year. So I'm sorry, did that slip out again? I'm so sorry, Commissioner Hill and Commissioner Burns. It just slipped out.
On my birthday, right?
That's right. On your birthday. Special thanks to Chief Salazar and Chief Smith. Thrilled about y'all's addition to the staff. Look forward to working with you. So thank you very much. The only thing I want to mention today is about the body-worn cameras. Thank you for that. We accepting that as a gift and moving forward with that. Those body-worn cameras have been more and more important to us in terms of the work, not only of keeping our staff essentially honest, but also keeping the community honest as well. We're going to get ready to announce a new pilot program that we're going to do in District 3, see if it works out. If it does, we'll try to do something citywide. I'll share that with you in the next couple of weeks as we get that formulated. But it's all a chance of holding everybody mutually accountable. I think that's how we do it in cities, and we make that work. And that's all that I have. So, Mayor, with that, I'd like to move the agenda.
Motion by Commissioner Stewart on the consent agenda, second by Commissioner Ortiz. All in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, so the motion carries. All right, we're going to be idle for about a minute while people just had issues on the consent agenda have an opportunity to vacate. Okay, let's move on to the rest of the agenda. Let's go to hearings, ordinances on first reading. Madam Clerk, number 1.
Mayor, would you like to address the CRA?
Oh, okay, yeah. Sorry about that, David. All right, let's recess the city council meeting without objection, and we will convene the CRA meeting. The first item is CRA Advisory Board meeting minutes from the 22nd of June. Motion by Commissioner Hill, second by Commissioner Sheehan. All in favor indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Item 2 is CRA meeting minutes from July 18th, 2022. Motion by Commissioner Hill, second by Commissioner Sheehan. All in favor indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. All right, number 3, David.
Yes, good afternoon, Mayor, Commissioners. Item 3, and what I'll do, because these are rather unique items, I'll talk about 3 and 4 together, but absolutely can take your questions at any time. These are both some of our downtown, as we've kind of generally called them facade grants, but they're downtown commercial and residential improvement program grants. So that program, as you will recall, offers up to $100,000 in the whole CRA, but up to $120,000 in Paramore for those either property owners or businesses who are looking to improve the exteriors and interiors of their property. The 2 that we have for you today are for the Crest Building. So as I mentioned, they kind of go together because our beloved Crest Building actually fronts on 2 streets. You recall there's a portion that fronts along Church Street, and then there is one that fronts along Orange Avenue. So they require 2 separate agreements. What they are doing on item 3 is specifically for the Church Street side, which is 15 West Church Street. They're doing some canopy improvements, some painting, as well as some cleaning. And then on the subsequent item, which is the Orange Avenue side, they're actually installing some glass over the concave area that goes inside and doing some cleaning and painting there as well. So on this specific item here, they are spending about $140,000, and they are eligible out of our program for $54,895. That is on the current item 3 before you, Mayor.
Move to approve.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Hill, second by Commissioner Sheehan. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. All right, number 4.
Thank you, Mayor. And for this portion of the building, as I just described, they are spending actually about $210,000, so it's almost $350,000 between the 2, and they are eligible for $35,430 out of the CRA's program.
Move to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Hill, second by Commissioner Sheehan. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, and so the motion carries. Number 5, David.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Item 5 is a retail stimulus program. So our retail stimulus program in the CRA, again, offers up to $100,000 for new businesses that are coming into the CRA that are retail-based. So we've actually had the pleasure of offering this. Commissioner Hill mentioned Dexter's Birdland. We offered that to them several years ago. So we're excited to offer it to this company, which is F&D Cantina. F&D Cantina is in the Thornton Park area. You may have been there. They opened somewhat recently. They actually have another location in Lake Mary, and this would be their second that they have here in downtown. Out of this program, they're eligible for $25,000, and that is what being recommended for approval.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Sheehan, second by Commissioner Hill. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, the motion carries. David, anything else come before the CRA board?
That is all. Thank you very much.
Okay, then we will stand adjourned and we will reconvene the city council meeting. And I was so excited to get to this annexation. No, it's not. It's a special plan zoning overlay district that I was excited to get to on hearings ordinances on first reading, Madam Clerk.
Ordinance number 2022-40, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Orlando, Florida, relating to the Curry Ford Special Plan, creating Section 62.411 Orlando City Code to establish the Curry Ford Special Plan zoning overlay district, providing for amendment of the city's official zoning map, providing legislative findings and for codification, severability, correction of scrivener's error, and an effective date.
I'll second.
Motion by Commissioner Sheehan, second by Commissioner Gray. Do we have any requests to speak, Madam Clerk?
No, Mayor.
Discussion, hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. All right, hearings, ordinances on
Mayor?
second reading. Oh, yes, wow, I gotta keep all my notes here. Commissioners, this ordinance requires a public hearing after 5 o'clock unless we vote by a supermajority to hold the second public hearing at our normal city council meeting time. Staff recommends that we hold the second public hearing at our regularly scheduled city council meeting beginning at 2 p.m. on September 12th. Do I hear such a motion?
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Sheehan, second by Commissioner Burns. All in favor indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, so the motion carries. Okay, now we are going to go to hearings ordinances on second reading. Number 1.
Ordinance 2022-22, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Orlando, Florida, rezoning certain land generally located north of International Drive between South Kirkman Road, I-4 ramp, and Grand National Drive, comprising approximately 18.9 acres of land, more or less, from Metropolitan Activity Center District with the North International Drive Special Plan Overlay District to Planned Development Zoning District with the North International Drive Special Plan Overlay District, providing a development plan and special land development regulations of the Planned Development District, providing for severability, correction of scrivener's errors, permit disclaimer, and an effective date.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Burns, second by Commissioner Hill. Madam Clerk, any cards? No cards. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. And number 2.
Ordinance number 2022-27, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Orlando, Florida, amending the city's growth management plan to change the future land use map designation for certain land generally located south of New Hampshire Street, north of Colwitt Lane, and east of Mercy Drive, comprised of 9.862 acres of land, more or less, from residential medium intensity to office medium intensity, changing the property zoning designation from medium intensity development with the Wekiva Overlay District to medium intensity office residential with the Wekiva Overlay District in part, providing for amendment of the city's official future land use and zoning maps, providing for severability, correction of scrivener's error, permit disclaimer, and an effective date.
So move.
Motion by Commissioner Hill, second by Commissioner Sheehan. Madam Clerk?
No speakers, Mayor.
No speakers. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Number 3.
Ordinance number 2022-33, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Orlando, Florida, annexing to the corporate limits of the city certain land generally located north of East Michigan Street, east of Marlborough Street, south of East Jersey Avenue, and west of Gowen Street, and comprised of 0.88 acres of land, more or less, and amending the city's boundary description, amending the city's adopted growth management plan to designate the property as residential low intensity and mixed-use corridor medium intensity on the city's official future land use maps, designating the property as 1 to 2 family residential and medium intensity mixed-use corridor zoning districts, both with a traditional city overlay district on the city's official zoning maps, providing for amendment of the city's official future land use and zoning maps, providing for severability, correction of scrivener's error, permit disclaimer, and an effective date.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Sheehan, second by Commissioner Hill. Madam Clerk?
We have one speaker, David Golby.
Mr. Golby? So if you'll give us your name and address, then you'll have 3 minutes.
My name is David Golby. I'm a resident of 2110 East Jersey, about 3 houses away from the proposed project. This is Cinderella's stepsisters trying to squeeze too much foot into too little glass slipper, and that was evident both when this project was a county project and in the city discussion in the city board. What is more exceptional here, for those of us who are residents, who have been fighting this for a year, is that not one of you on this council represents Clover Heights. There is an entire community between Fern Creek and Bumby, below Curry Ford to Michigan, that is being disenfranchised by this action. We are unincorporated, and the only piece of the city is this little finger sticking out from Fern Creek along Michigan Commercial. It looks like an obscene gesture. We are becoming an enclave, an unincorporated area, and not one of you represents us. We are opposed to this project. The facts from Portland, Oregon on food trucks indicates that our property values will go down, our leftover from the 1920s neighborhood, our streets are inadequate already without sidewalks, the traffic, the trash, and the noise that's going to permeate our very peaceful, almost downtown community is going to be robbed. Our franchise, our quality of life is being taken from us, and from a city council that does not represent the people in that area. It's even going to be destructive to the other commercial areas, or commercial businesses and properties in that area. And the way this was done, it was a county project. The city had a project to upgrade Michigan. The supplies and equipment were staged on this property, and as soon as that project was done, this moved from a county project, which the county was set to deny, and became a city project. And it moved so quickly, and it was obvious from the beginning that this was a done deal. So it's a done deal. You've worn us out, but it's wrong. And I urge you to vote against it. Thank you.
Further speakers, Madam Clerk?
That's all, Mayor.
Commissioner Sheehan, I don't know much about this one, quite honestly, so do you have any thoughts?
I'm going to call on Elizabeth.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. My name is Elizabeth Dang, the City Planning Division Manager. This project went to the Planning Board in April of this year. There were a number of public comments, both in favor and against the project. Nobody chose to appeal the case after it went to the Planning Board, which is why it's come to you as an ordinance.
And honestly, Mayor, I mean, we've had other food truck, developments that have been fine. They have not had any negative deleterious effect. And this is on Michigan. I think this is a commercial corridor. I think it's appropriate.
Okay. Is that a motion, Commissioner?
So moved, Mayor.
Motion by Commissioner Sheehan.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Burns.
Commissioner, Mayor.
Discussion. Commissioner Ortiz.
We usually follow the directives of the commissioner. You said that there has not been any objections or whatnot. The gentleman is obviously coming over here representing the members. I don't know what's the possibility of us postponing this until further research is done. I'm going to lean against, of course, with all due respect to the commissioner of the district, to see if we can further, because on my stance, I don't think it would be fair for us to make a decision without all the facts at hand. But if you feel like we have all the facts when it comes to this particular one.
Mayor, may I?
Commissioner.
Yeah, I had not heard since April from Mr. Golby until this morning, and so finally Elizabeth and I did have some discussion on this today. But I mean, the issue seems to be Orange County versus City of Orlando, and I really don't think it's going to change the land use issues, to be quite honest, Commissioner. They just don't seem to be happy with that. There has been a process they have participated in through the entire process, and unfortunately we just don't agree on the outcome.
It's a zone in a way that is...
It's a zoning issue.
There's nothing that we can... Because then we don't want to get sued for doing something against it. But if it's zoned that fashion, I just want to make sure, because I don't know if you guys know all the facts. I don't know all the facts of this particular one. So.
Elizabeth.
Mayor, if I could, thank you. Again, Elizabeth Dang with City Planning. Just to clarify, the city and county zoning districts are a little bit different in how they operate. And the city does have regulations for food trucks and that sort of thing. So it's a little easier to fit it into the city code than the county code. And this is another branch of the a la carte restaurant, which we have some experience with. And they have to clarify to the board, it's not just a series of trucks. They have a permanent building that has restrooms inside and seating area, and they have all the utilities set up for the food trucks. So they're able to bring the food trucks on and off the site, and they just hook them up. So it's not a vacant field with generators and a few trucks that come and go. It's a very organized operation.
May I?
May I? I'm sorry, Commissioner.
Yeah. No, it's okay.
Commissioner, I think you toured this
I
one.
was going to say, I don't know if he's familiarized with this particular restaurant. It's very neat. They are very orderly. It's very exclusive. I don't think it's going to lower the property value of your area. has been a total success in the city. Very responsible owners. And so, have you talked to them? Because they're very accommodating too, so I don't know.
Okay, not, gotta be at the mic. All right, do we need anything else? Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed?
No.
Okay. I think I had Commissioner Ortiz as a no.
The will of the people.
Okay, let's see, that was number 3, so we're on to number 4.
Ordinance number 2022-34, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Orlando, Florida, amending the future land use maps of the city's growth management plan from Community Activity Center to industrial in part for land located at 1750 Lee Vista Boulevard, Lee Vista parcel, from industrial to conservation in part, for land located at 6708 Hazeltine National Drive, Hazeltine parcel, and from conservation to Metropolitan Activity Center in part, for land located on McCoy Road, McCoy parcel, amending the city's zoning maps to change the zoning designation from Community Activity Center with aircraft noise overlay to Industrial Park with the aircraft noise overlay district for the Lee Vista parcel in part, from conservation with the aircraft noise overlay district to Metropolitan Activity Center with the aircraft noise overlay district for the McCoy parcel in part, and for Industrial Park with the aircraft noise overlay district to conservation with the aircraft noise overlay in part for the Hazeltine parcel, providing for amendment of the city's official future land use and zoning maps, providing for severability, correction of scrivener's error, permit disclaimer, and an effective date.
Go ahead, Tony. Go ahead. Second.
Motion by Commissioner Ortiz, second by Commissioner Gray. Madam Clerk?
No speakers, Mayor.
No speakers. Is there discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, and so the motion carries. Number 5.
Ordinance number 2022-39, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Orlando, Florida, relating to the city's growth management plan, future land use element, providing the summer 2022 package of growth management amendments pursuant to the expedited state review process, amending sub-area policies 19 through 23 to create a unified Curry Ford sub-area policy, amending sub-area policies 35 and 38 relating to Lake Nona, amending policy 4.1.6 relating to the Southeast Orlando Sector Plan, and creating policy S.5.1.2 regarding management of late-night uses, sound attenuation, and parking facilities within downtown Orlando, providing for amendment of the city's growth management plan, providing for severability, correction of scrivener's error, and an effective date.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Hill, second by Commissioner Stewart. Madam Clerk?
No speakers, Mayor.
No speakers. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Number 6.
Ordinance number 2022-42, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Orlando, Florida, amending the city's adopted growth management plan to change the future land use map designation for property generally located north of West Colonial Drive between North Westmoreland Drive and Cordova Drive and south of Boardman Street, and comprised of approximately 0.69 acres, providing for amendment of the city's official future land use maps, providing for severability, correction of scrivener's error, and an effective date.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Stewart, second by Commissioner Sheehan. Madam Clerk?
No speakers, Mayor.
Discussion? Commissioner Stewart?
Yes, Elizabeth, I think we have had some conversations with the owner, and there are some additional changes that we added to this particular PD on the ambassador.
Elizabeth?
There are some issues raised about the fence, and I think we've addressed those.
Good afternoon. That's correct. There's an additional requirement that was added to the PD ordinance to require an 8-foot septed-style fence on the northern property boundary, and that's included in all the paperwork in the council agenda item.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Number 7.
Ordinance number 2022-43, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Orlando, Florida, rezoning certain land generally located at the northeast corner of West Colonial and Northwest Moreland Drives, and comprised of 2.73 acres of land more or less from medium-intensity mixed-use corridor with the traditional city overlay district in part, and low-intensity office residential with the traditional city overlay district in part, to plan development with the traditional city overlay district, providing a development plan and special land development regulations of the planned development district, providing for severability, correction of scrivener's errors, permit disclaimer, and an effective date.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Stewart, second by Commissioner Hill. Madam Clerk?
No speakers, Mayor.
No speakers. Discussion. Commissioner Stewart?
Sorry.
Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Number 8.
Ordinance number 2022-44, an ordinance granting petition of Pulte Home Company LLC establishing and naming the Riverwalk Community Development District pursuant to Chapter 190 Florida statutes prescribing the external boundaries, the functions and the powers of the district, designating 5 persons to serve as the initial members of the district's Board of Supervisors, providing a severability clause and an effective date.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Gray, second by Commissioner Ortiz. Madam Clerk?
No speakers, Mayor.
No speakers. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Number 9.
Ordinance number 2022-45, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Orlando, Florida relating to parking and loading, updating the requirements for driveways, parking spaces, off-site parking facilities, parking garages, modifying the boundaries of the downtown parking area, and amending definitions, clarifying terms, providing legislative findings, and for severability, codification, correction of scrivener's error, and an effective date.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Sheehan, second by Commissioner Hill. Madam Clerk?
No speakers, Mayor.
No speakers. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. And number 10.
Ordinance number 2022-47, an ordinance of the City of Orlando, Florida, amending Chapter 56 City Code Transportation Impact Fee by amending Section 56.02 Intent and Purpose to incorporate and update impact fee study by amending 56.04 definitions, by amending Section 56.06 determination of transportation impact fees related to accessory dwelling units, by amending 56.15 exemptions, by amending Exhibit A impact fee rate schedule, by providing severability, repeal of conflicting ordinances and actions, codification, correction of scrivener's error, and an effective date.
Motion by Commissioner Sheehan, second by Commissioner Hill. Madam Clerk?
No speakers, Mayor.
No speakers. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Okay, let's go to ordinances on first reading. Number 1.
Ordinance number 2022-37, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Orlando, Florida, amending the city's growth management plan to change the future land use map designation for certain land generally located at the northeast corner of East Princeton Street and Formosa Avenue, comprised of 0.55 acres of land, more or less, from residential low intensity to office low intensity, amending the growth management plan future land use map Figure LU-2, Part C, to remove the property from sub-area policy S.4.2, changing the property zoning designation from 1 to 2 family residential zoning district with the traditional city and Wekiva overlays to office and residential zoning district with the traditional city and Wekiva overlays, providing for amendment of the city's official future land use and zoning maps, providing for severability, correction of scrivener's error, permit disclaimer, and an effective date.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Stewart, second by Commissioner Sheehan. Madam Clerk?
No speakers, Mayor.
No speakers. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Number 2.
Ordinance number 2022-46, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Orlando, Florida, relating to the management of late-night uses, sound attenuation, and parking facilities within downtown Orlando, amending Chapter 5 of the Orlando City Code entitled Code Enforcement, amending Chapter 33 of the Orlando City Code entitled Alcohol Beverages, amending Chapter 42 of the Orlando City Code entitled Noise, amending Chapter 61, Part 3 of the Land Development Code entitled Parking and Loading, amending Chapter 62, Part 5 of the Land Development Code entitled Design Standards in AC-3A District, amending Chapter 65, Part 5A of the Land Development Code entitled General Requirements, providing compliance schedule for parking facilities, providing legislative findings, and for codification, corrections, governor's error, severability, and effective date.
Move.
Motion by Commissioner Burns, second by Commissioner Hill. Commissioners, I thought this one needed some discussion. I think most of the TV cameras are here for this particular thing. And, you know, this council and councils before us have made significant investments in our downtown. And I remember when I first got here, the main blocks of the downtown area were boarded up, and there was not anything but tumbleweeds in our downtown after 5 o'clock for the most part. And we have made a lot of significant investments in our downtown, from a performing arts center to the Amway Center. We had no residential virtually when I first got here, and now there's a lot of residential. And we used to joke about it'll be great when we get to the point where people are complaining about noise downtown, because there's so many people that are living downtown that they're going to complain about anything that's happening. And I think we have definitely reached that level. We probably don't have the mix of different entertainment that we would like in our downtown at this point. And there's a lot of nighttime activity that's making a lot of people a lot of money. And there's a lot of people, I don't know, 20,000 people sometimes in our downtown on Friday and Saturday evening. And after the pandemic, things are a little bit different than they used to be. And we've had a couple of incidents where people were shot in our downtown, which we don't want any of that happening in our downtown. And certainly we don't want to be we don't want to be an unsafe downtown, number one, nor do we want to have that reputation. We want anybody to be able to visit our downtown with certainty. So we have taken some interim steps to try to both repair the reputation as well as the actual experience in our downtown. We set up these controlled access points that we've had the last couple of weekends, and we're working on some things for interim steps. We all know that there's a lot bigger picture to come. We've got our downtown master plan that's looking at two-waying streets and making things more walkable, and a lot of other good stuff, I think. But in the meantime, we need to take some interim steps, and we did so in our last in the last couple of weeks. The particular things that are coming before us today have actually been in the works for 6 or 7 months, but they are needed at this point for sure. But as there's a lot of scrutiny on things that are going in and on downtown, and we want the public to have transparency about what and why we're doing things in our downtown, I thought it was important that we have some staff explanation and some discussion. So David's going to lead us off in that direction.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Good afternoon again, Commissioners. So I'm not sure if the presentation is up before you just yet, but ultimately, here we go. I'll move right in. To start, I wanted to provide just a brief history, because as the Mayor pointed out, downtown has grown significantly over recent years, and that has changed. Our focus on the nighttime economy has also shifted during that time. So some of you may remember back in 2016, I had the opportunity to lead a component that was really helped out by the Responsible Hospitality Institute, which was a hospitality zone analysis. And in that, we ultimately integrated a number of different businesses in downtown. It was over 80 different businesses and 100 different stakeholders to really take a look at our downtown nightlife and see how we can best manage it moving forward, understanding that it is a part of our downtown. So as we went through that, and in fact, a number of those people that went through that process are here in the room today, so they're definitely committed alongside with us. We came up with a couple different things just from a high level, and I'll cover them briefly. One, it was that the nighttime economy is important. Having so many people, as the mayor pointed out, living in downtown, they want to have the opportunity to socialize. And you do need venues to be able to socialize, but there's right ways to do that. We evaluated the process and had a lot of community engagement, as I talked to you about. And then there was kind of three distinct areas. One was assuring safety, obviously paramount. That talked about things like we're actually doing, and the mayor noted, with controlled access or coordinated entry. We also talked about doing trainings with our businesses that our Orlando Police Department does and trains them on various different things. During that process, we were actually successful in having the Homeland Security, the National Homeland Security team come out and do a training for our businesses as well. Enhancing vibrancy. So that was interesting as well. Maxine was here earlier. Some of you may recall when we partnered and were able to get to the SFS or SRS, Special Restaurant Service License, which actually makes it easier for restaurants to operate in our downtown and now throughout many areas of the city as well. Planning for people, and just noting that it needs to be a safe place, be able to help get into downtown as well as out of downtown, and then ultimately our ongoing commitment. That, in particular, was kind of one of two things. One is the city at that time was, I believe, one of the first 5 in the nation, and then probably about the first 10 in the world to create a nighttime economy manager position that really just looked at this. Justin Eason is here. He's our current nighttime economy manager, and our former, Dominique Greco, is also here in the room as well. But also along with that, we established kind of just a staff committee that would advise staff. That it was known as the Nighttime Economy Committee, made up of about half of city staff and half of public engagement individuals, which I'll talk about a little bit more later, but that still is in existence today. So recent events, the mayor talked about briefly. I won't spend much time there. I think we all know the challenges and some of the issues that downtown has faced recently. And some of our, as the mayor pointed out, more short-term responses, to remind you all, are the coordinated entry piece, where we ultimately look at various access points in downtown and have ways for metal detection, ways to identify just metal along those coming in that we work with OPD on. We have additional code enforcement in downtown, specifically focusing at our nighttime realm. The CRA has upgraded our lighting in downtown. We've installed or upgraded more than 300 fixtures throughout the core. Extending some additional policing throughout downtown to make sure that there's the appropriate amount of policing to handle the increased number of people that we do have in downtown, which I'll talk about in a few minutes. But in addition to that, we also created 2 different grant programs because we wanted to come alongside our businesses as well and encourage them to partner with us and enhance the experience for their patrons, which are also ours. So you all approved something known as the SAFE program, which actually where the CRA can fund up to $10,000 alongside our businesses to either enhance their camera program, for them to get metal detection on their own business component, as well as getting scanners, so ID scanners, to make sure that everyone coming in is appropriate, but they also allow them to communicate with each other. We've had over 20 businesses come through the pre-application process on that. Don't have any full takers just yet, but we're anxious to get that started. We also have a sidewalk cafe incentive where we incentivize businesses to come together and upgrade their sidewalk cafe materials to get it more consistent and upgrade the look in downtown. And then camera enhancements where we have partnered with OPD to either install new or upgrade over 40 cameras throughout downtown. So then we'll just talk about looking forward and some of the code changes that are before you today. Everything we talk about is being focused on the downtown entertainment area. You see a map before you. It is generally bounded by Colonial on the north, the 408 on the south, Huey on the west. You see it jogs right there around the SED and Amway Center area. And then right down Roslyn for the most part on the east side. So kind of going to recent events, the mayor spoke about this as well. Downtown at night is, it's busy. It's hopping at night. So in general in downtown, and I'll just move to the next slide, there's a lot going on here, but I'll point you to what just to kind of pay attention to. This is a company we work with called Placer, and it works on tracking just cell phone data. So you know those boxes you check when you download an app, they may go to a company like this, but it tells us generally about how many people are in downtown at any given time. I would say the 2 lines to kind of pay the most attention to are the dotted purple line, which is the one kind of that peaks twice on the front end. Then the orange one that's just slightly below that. Those are our 2021 and 2022 kind of, let's call it occupancy numbers, but how many people are in downtown at night. And you can see how those have now been historically higher than 2019 pre-COVID levels and anything that we can track before that. So there are just more people in downtown coming to enjoy all the things that we have, some of the major investments, but also some of our nighttime establishments, and some just unfortunately just coming to kind of hang out in the street, which has caused somewhat of a particular challenge that we are trying to address. So again, Mayor mentioned this, we've had a number of violent shootings in downtown. Some of the more recent ones starting in last year on Pine Street, then we had incidents on Halloween, Wall Street and Orange Avenue, the unfortunate murder there, shooting along Court Street, and then the most recent near Wall. So again, as the mayor pointed to, there are some of these items that are kind of very specific, but also we want to keep in mind the downtown that we're all working towards, and the one that has grown significantly in population over recent years. We have our unit count has nearly doubled since the mayor has taken office, and we have more people in downtown. And creating a place for everyone to that extent is our holistic goal in order to do that. So we're looking for safety. We're looking for that both in the streets and the way people behave when they're walking or driving, but also when they're just coming downtown to hang out. That's part of it. And really creating a cultural district for the region, one that all of us want to come down and take part in and feel safe in and bring our families to. We're looking for a more active ground floor. We all are kind of have those experiences where we're maybe in our city or other cities where we're walking along ground floors, having various different experiences along the way, whether those be cultural experiences or store experiences. Having an awesome outdoor city. Some of you may remember this from Project ETO, and that's all the investments that we've either made or are making in our parks. Our parks are obviously something that our community really loves. We have Under Eye that's kind of coming up. We have Art Squared under construction. We have Solidarity Park, or where the statue is, and we want to continue to make those things available. Urban mobility, looking the way we get around downtown, whether that's on a bicycle or walking, and just enhancing that, also with our streetscapes and making that a very pleasant component. And where all that gets down to is we want to be the best urban neighborhood, one that people are proud to call home and proud to come in and work. And managing the mix of uses, it's a balancing act to get something that can work for those in the day who come to work, who live, and ultimately with nighttime uses as well. And that's what all of these components that we'll talk through now are geared towards. The Land Development Code changes are really coming in 3 different areas. They touch on some other portions of the code as appropriate, but they really hone in on 3 different things. The first of which is our surface parking lots that we have in the downtown entertainment area. The second is sound attenuation in outdoor speakers. One of the pieces that we have not been oblivious to is that you may have heard us reference time, the street party atmosphere that we have in downtown is a challenge. And we feel that sound is one of the ways that gets promoted. And then special use permits for after midnight uses is kind of the third general area that I will talk about here briefly. So the first of which, parking lot safety. So when some people come to downtown, they are finding their way to some of our surface parking lots. And we want to make sure that when they do that there's the appropriate base level improvements as well as atmosphere that people who park there are safe and that they have a good experience. So the items before you today do a couple different things. One, they amend the code to regulate the physical conditions of those surface parking lots. But what you can ultimately see that potentially doing is requiring an annual CPTED review. That's crime prevention by environmental design, to make sure there's appropriate amount of lighting in these lots. There may be landscaping that needs to be trimmed so there's no places where people can hide. To barricade the lot off when it's closed so that people aren't just coming to hang out if the lot is closed and is not monitored, so that OPD doesn't have to monitor a lot that isn't in operation. Having various lighting standards, I mentioned before, having things bright is very important, and we want to make sure that that's done appropriately. Landscaping improvements and having an attendant. A lot of times these lots, they may have somebody that's collecting your money on the way in, but then after the lot is full, they obviously have the opportunity to go home, but want to make sure that those are manned, or woman-manned, I should say, and monitored so that they continue to be a safe environment. And the other safety improvements, which include signage and things of that nature as well. Next area is sound attenuation. So this component is, as I mentioned, looking at one of the other components, that sound is one of the elements that we feel is providing just some context to enhance the festival atmosphere in the streets. So what this does is it creates a planning approval process for outdoor speakers. So these are permanent outdoor speakers, so those that are on private property and permanently there, not of those which are for special events or something of that nature. What they would need to do is have a noise report that would just say ultimately that their system, that the way it is ultimately installed, can operate within the bounds of the current noise ordinance. If it needs other things, let's say limiters, or there's some other sound attenuation devices, that's identified, and that we make sure that they have that in place so it can operate within the current code. And then it has some additional standards for sidewalk cafes. So one of which is just that those sidewalk cafe speakers that provide ambient noise on weekends, they should just kind of close those down at midnight and then 10 o'clock during the week, but also that some things we brought over from the contextual historic preservation code, which is that they're limited in size to be ambient speakers, and that directed down and towards the patrons and not out towards the street. Modification of indoor speakers, so just making sure that those aren't directed if they're in 20 feet of an opening. They're entertaining the interior patrons and not people that are out on the street. And then there's another piece for what is known as agent of change. And what that does is actually allows for when new buildings are coming into the area, that they're sharing in this burden to extent. So if you're building a new residential or hospitality building, that you acknowledge that, okay, you're moving into an entertainment environment, so you may actually have to upgrade some of the materials that you use to better insulate your property as new properties are built within the downtown entertainment area. And as you may recall, the moratorium that's been in place will expire on outdoor speakers will expire at the end of this month. The last piece is the special use permit. So this is for after midnight uses, and it is specifically for new after midnight uses. So those that are in place now would not be required to go through this process. But as new businesses open, or as there's a change in ownership, it is something that would be required if this was approved. So what this functions as is an administrative conditional use permit. And really what's intended to do is really start the conversation with city staff to make sure that these businesses are doing all the things that I know they want to do, but that they're thinking about things like, hey, do we have a security plan, and is that appropriate for the type of business that I'm ultimately going to operate? And do I have the right licensing and permitting? Do I have the right type of alcohol license and permitting through the city? Am I compliant with all the various laws that are already in the books? Again, having a SEPTED review we feel is very important, so that they can be thinking about those things that sometimes people just aren't aware of. And then if that does get appealed, it does go to MPB and treated as a conditional use permit. So the last piece I'll mention, just for your process component of what we've done so far, staff has obviously been working on these things with a number of different members of the city. Also, as I mentioned before, our Nighttime Economy Committee, we presented it to them back in April of this year. I listed a sample of some of the externals that are on that committee there. You can see the Beecham Thornton Park District, City District, Downtown Arts District, Good Salt Restaurant Group, our Downtown Orlando Partnership, First Service Residential, University of Central Florida, and Highwoods Properties. And those are augmented by about 16 members of city staff. And again, it's about a 50-50 split, so it's a little over 30 members of that committee. They went to MPB in May of this year. And we also had OHA, which is the Orlando Hospitality Alliance, meeting participation where we interviewed, they had the opportunity to talk through them with us and recommend some changes and tweaks back in June. And then we've also had numerous just direct meetings when those people have reached out, or we reached out to them. So that's kind of some high-level context about the changes, and I'm happy to address any questions.
Okay, questions for David, and then we do have 9 speakers. Commissioner Sheehan?
I had a couple questions. I kind of wondered about the sidewalk cafe stuff, because I'm like, I really don't see how having music in a sidewalk cafe is causing a lot of problems. I kind of question that. I'm glad to see that they're allowing that. But I'm more concerned about the surface lots, people that are partying in the lots that aren't coming into downtown. They're getting in trouble in the lots, they're drinking, they're doing other illegal activities. And actually, that's what I've heard from some folks in my district, that they're seeing people in maybe the county lot or whatever that aren't in downtown. They're partying and on the lots, and then they're getting in fights and stuff on those lots and causing some issues. So, I'm very concerned about that, and that's not the fault of the bar owners. That's just people who are coming in to take advantage of the situation at hand. I think something else that is also of concern, though, is not exceeding the occupancy numbers, because there's been some promoters coming in, and then it spills into the street. And then you start getting people angry because there's not enough room and different things like that, that has kind of contributed to the fighting, some of the issues that folks are having. So, I'd like to see some attention paid towards the occupancy and how we're dealing with the promoters late at night, as well as how we're dealing with these surface lots, because that's what people in my district are reporting as helping to contribute to some of the problems and some of the issues that they've experienced walking back and forth to downtown, maybe back into Thornton Park and stuff like that.
Yep. Absolutely, Commissioner. I didn't mention it, but the promoter piece that you mentioned is also one component in here where we're kind of taking the first step towards that. Promoters is something that we've heard from a variety of people for a while about how things operate. So it does require promoters to get a BTR, so they're on our radar, and again, enhance that conversation. And absolutely on the occupancy, Chief Salazar actually was talking before. They started some of those components this weekend, and that is would be ongoing.
You start jostling, you start fighting. Especially after you've had a few. And you throw in firearms, and that's a whole other issue. Thanks, Mayor.
Okay, thank you, David. Commissioner Stewart.
David, a quick question. Information you've given us, the tracking that you have on a monthly basis, how is that tracked? Is that tracked through a police estimate? Is that tracked through individual activity? How is that tracked?
The document that I showed you, which was the graph, Commissioner, that's actually a third-party service that we're basically a subscriber of. It's called Placer. And what they do is they have a way of tracking kind of cell phone data. So when you sign up for various apps, you'll click I agree, and that allows them to share your location. So they are one of the people that receive that. So they don't know who was. They wouldn't know if you were downtown at this particular time, but they give us an amalgamation of that data and say, we set parameters on that time in that area. Which is basically the core area. I believe on that specific one that I shared was, I think it was 9 or 8 to 3 a.m. And will let us know approximately how many people were in that area within that time. And then they also kind of have a process of removing, so if someone was there for 10 hours, they'll say, well, they probably live there, and that gets removed out. So, but that is a third-party service that we subscribe to.
When you look at the recommendations you're making, how are you measuring our level of success in the future compared to a previous level?
Sure. So I think one of the most direct ways that we can ultimately look at measuring it as we're talking about the various things that we're doing is making sure that the level of safety in downtown is enhanced. Now, what that means from a numeric standpoint, I think, as in our conversations, is having more people patronize our businesses and having less people just hang out in the streets, and watching that dynamic shift. Obviously, we want less violence, and that's at the core of all of this. But we know that the majority of people that are coming to town aren't violent, but there's individual pieces that are along there. So I think having more people patronize our businesses, less people just coming downtown to hang out, so to speak, would be one of the most direct ways.
Yeah, but in the middle of the night, most people, they're patronizing bars. So I mean, when you talk about patronizing businesses, sure. What are you talking about? Do you have the ability to measure, the same tracking you've done, measure by hour to find out if we're getting an increase from 6 to 8 o'clock as opposed to an increase from midnight to 2?
Yeah. So we can measure it by hour, absolutely, and we can look at when they're coming. I think that's a great piece. What we have found through both direct conversations with bar owners as well as with our conversations with the Orlando Police Department, which can seem counterintuitive, is that actually at night a lot of people that are coming downtown aren't patronizing our businesses. And they're coming down for quote unquote the street party atmosphere that is created by happenstance. So they are hanging out in the street, or as Commissioner mentioned, maybe hanging out in parking lots. And those particular components, I think, are what we're looking to make the most impact on. The businesses themselves, we want them to ultimately be able to continue to operate and be successful. But those people who are coming downtown not to do that, or to potentially participate in nefarious acts, are absolutely, I think, one of the challenges before us. We absolutely can look at various times. We've worked with our parking department and looking at times that people come into garages as well, and how that ultimately looks as the night goes on.
I just don't perceive that the issue is the bar owners missing business. I mean, so if the only thing we have downtown is bar owners, and they're making all the money they can now, essentially, I don't think that's got to be a fair way to measure our success. I think you can measure success by cars coming in, the times moving up. When people are here from 5 to 9, they're probably here for dinner and not here for drinking, kind of thing. That makes a lot of sense to me.
Absolutely.
Police activity as well. There's some things I think we can find some other measurements on, and I'd like to kind of see how those kind of intersect in a way. Until you end up with 20 or 30 new restaurants that are opening up and staying up until midnight, you're not. It's the same clientele that's here. Less police, less police engagement, those kind of things. I think are things I'd like to see. And then, when, as Commissioner Sheehan says, when you toss in handguns, everything else changes. But I'd like to see. I'm not opposed to this, but I think one of the challenges I have is that when you got $1.3 billion worth of investment we've made in downtown Orlando, and people don't want to go to a restaurant because they don't feel safe. They want to go in and get a drink afterwards because they don't feel safe. It's what we've said for 10 or 15 years. That has to be the long-term investment of our community, where the vehicle is the facility, but the investment is the investment into downtown. So, I'd love to see some more tracking and seeing how you're going to determine whether we're successful or not. That's all.
Absolutely. And those are great points, Commissioner. We'll absolutely look at those. Thank you.
Commissioner Ortiz.
Thank you, Mayor. All right, great effort, and I think we're probably heading in the right direction. Excellent LED lighting coverage is paramount. But there's no darkness, people don't like to hang out. I mean, those who have bad intentions are not going to hang out where the light is bright. For the most part, it's a concept of SEPTID. Cameras, try to cover as much territory as we can downtown, and I think we definitely, with those grants, try to get all these businesses downtown to adhere to this philosophy and tie in with the PD, So, and I know that there's an incentive for that. Signs warning people about the presence of this equipment that we need, because sometimes they'll think about it twice. Somebody's going to tell them if they're about to commit a crime, say, "Oh, hold on a second, there's cameras here," just like red light cameras, right? I think, and I believe that has been established, I think David Arnott, we talked about this before, training bar staff, restaurant staff, all the clubs, making sure that they can see the signs so we can avoid some of these issues and help us out. Have we thought about a curfew after 3 o'clock, after everything is closed, make sure that there's nobody hanging out?
Not specifically yet, Commissioner. We've talked about a lot of things, not a curfew just yet.
Because I'm not saying during the working hours, we don't want anybody to be scared by, oh, we're going to be gone. But after 3, when everything is supposed to be shut down, no one hanging out in parking, no one hanging out anywhere. Not that we're going to go out, but, some sort of a deterrent. Something I have been talking about for a long, long time, and I know this is not going to happen from one day to the other, is diversify the kind of businesses we have downtown. Because by the mere fact that you see other businesses, it kind of, I don't know if there's a sense of there's a diversity, there's a different way of looking at downtown, but just clubs and bars, people, there's a sense of disrespect up to a certain point. People think that they just come down to have fun and they don't realize that there's other businesses that they have to respect. I don't know, maybe, and I know, as I said, this is not something's going to happen from one day to the other. The CRA should be involved, and of course, logistics and plans should be taken into consideration. But I love the fact that we always have in front of us, ahead of us, quality of life and the safety of our people. So I want to also commend our chief. I know that our chief has been really involved, and every time something happens, he's joining the spot. So congratulations, Chief, and thank you for everything that's happening. Thank you, guys.
Commissioner Hill.
Thank you, Mayor Dyer. Of course, I'm in support of this ordinance, but I am very mindful, as was stated, yes, the city has invested over $1 billion in our downtown corner to make it, and as I remember, even prior to me coming to council, to make it a work, live, play environment. That's what we promoted, and people decided to invest into that vision. right? Even business owners, small business owners, bars, people have invested a lot in downtown. Restaurants, pizza parlors. Of course, I don't want us to start penalizing the same people that has brought us thus far, right? Of course, we have to put some type of policy in place because it is a new time. Most, as Mayor Dyer said, when it was Asleep Orlando, most people carried knives or brass knuckles. They didn't carry guns. So guns are what's harming our downtown, right? People used to drink and get in bar fights. Now they carry guns. So we have to look at how we're going to communicate with those other legislators outside of just city policymakers about guns. I don't want to be, it's not that I'm minimizing some of the issues that we have downtown, but we have been forward-thinking, this council, especially this mayor, on a safer, vibrant downtown, as he stated even 6 months ago. But I would even dare say, David, with the work that you and Thomas and our planning department did with many small businesses and the residents in our CRA with our downtown master plan, where there were over 30, 40 meetings that was held in the community of the downtown corridor, even led there at the public library, on how we would have a vibrant, safe, and quality downtown. So those things this isn't new, what we're doing. We just continue to expand and enhance those things under the new conditions. But we have to expect more people coming downtown when we have over 1,500 people a week moving to Central Florida. And yes, down Orlando is an attractive place to be. Whether it's City Walk, I am afraid that if we become so oversensitive that we're like even here in curfew, downtown curfew, do we want to shut down downtown Orlando? I don't think that's the direction that we want to go in. We want to make it safer, but we want to still make it all inclusive. We don't want a lily white downtown with just fine, high-end restaurants. We want to make it to where it's equitable for all, right? Instead of scared of those rappers that play rap music at night now in the downtown corridor. So you know, this, we have to be sensitive also. And I want to ask you a question. This isn't unique, guns and some of the shootings downtown. I've been reading and watching television and Googling. This is happening throughout the nation when we're to talk about some of the violence in major cities and downtown corridors. Can you talk about some of the research that we've probably have done to say that this isn't unique to our downtown core? And as we've, done some of the research, that this is happening and how we're trying to minimize what's happening here, but we're not unique to this. Is that true?
Sure, yes, it is. You're absolutely right, Commissioner. Gun violence is increased throughout our nation, and unfortunately, we have not been immune to that. I can tell you, when Justin was he's our at-time economy manager, was just in the Responsible Hospitality Institute conference. This topic came up, just what you mentioned, came up, and they had a session that was geared just towards that. It was one of the most well-attended sessions that was there. There was standing room only. But really what it wound up being was a conversation between everybody saying, hey, what are you doing? Hey, what do you have going on over there? Because no one's figured it out yet. They're kind of in a situation like we are where you're getting inundated with challenges and you're looking for best practices, but there's not necessarily the best ones to do. I can tell you in that conversation, as Justin had the opportunity to share with us, that a lot of people were interested in what we're doing with our coordinated entry programs and trying how to figure that out. Don't know if that's the right answer or the wrong answer, but I think what was important that was taken forward, that we're not afraid to make sure that we're taking the steps necessary, the appropriate steps necessary, right, to take a shot at making sure we're providing the most safe and ultimately diverse atmosphere that we have for those who choose to come and play in downtown, and being mindful that there are other components of that context as well, right? Those who are living there. So absolutely, gun violence is unfortunately plaguing our society. One of the components that is plaguing our society right now. We are not immune to it, and we continue to be in the middle of those conversations so that we can be abreast of what other cities are doing and what's working and what's not, so we can have the best impact and create a safe environment.
Thank you for your leadership and staff and this council for daring to move forward with creating a vibrant, safe, quality, and diverse downtown for our patrons that come downtown, but as stated, also for our residents. And also Chief's leadership, him and his team, on doing everything possible to not step outside their legal ramifications also, right? Because residents have rights also. We just can't do a lockdown on downtown and start militarizing our downtown. We just can't do that no matter what. Make it a Gestapo type of atmosphere. But we want to do everything that we can to make it safe and give quality. I know this is pretty tough, but I know we're gonna do the right thing by all and make sure that we don't penalize the good players, nor that we penalize our small business only, which is our bar owners, but give them the resources and incentives and tools needed so that they can work with us for a safer downtown. And thank you.
Commissioner Gray.
Thank you, Mayor. And Mayor, do we have people that are going to speak to us? Maybe I withhold my questions. Maybe they'll answer some of those.
Yeah, we have 9 speakers.
Can I wait?
You can definitely.
I will do that. Thank you, sir.
Especially if we're getting beyond questions and more just comment. Okay, thank you, David. We do have 9 speakers, so if you would come up and give us your name and address, and then you'll have 3 minutes to speak to council. So first 3 are Dominique Greco, Jeffrey Gitto, and Doug Taylor.
Good afternoon. Dominique Greco, 860 North Orange Ave, Orlando, Florida, 32801. Good afternoon, Mayor and Commissioners. It is a privilege of mine to reach you today representing the Orlando Hospitality Alliance.
Pull your mic up just a hair.
Yes, sir.
There you go.
Better?
Better.
To reach you this afternoon, representing the Orlando Hospitality Alliance, more specifically representing more than 35 founding business members from our downtown entertainment area. First and foremost, we want to extend our condolences to the victims of gun violence both in our city and around our country. We can only hope that between efforts made on the federal, state, local level, and by various community groups like ours, that we will make progress to continue to eradicate senseless gun violence at large. We appreciate the mayor's offer to meet with downtown nightlife stakeholders every 2 weeks. The OHA members will continue to show up to that table with downtown Orlando's safety as a top priority. We urge these conversations to continue as they are an essential bridge of communication. As you know, we have been collaborating with DDB-CRA in efforts to modernize the dated sound policies that affect downtown's brand worthiness and business operations. The progress made in those discussions gave our stakeholders hope that they were being heard and provided compromise solutions to measuring and enforcing sound attenuation in downtown. However, we were disappointed to learn that this omnibus did not include the modernization of sound policies in our bona fide downtown entertainment area. One such concern is the subjectivity around how and where sound will be measured, which as proposed arguably creates the potential for uneven enforcement. Through the current sound moratorium, we've now all seen firsthand, as anticipated, that the only real impact of punitive sound policies is that it stifles business and ultimately does not prevent gun or gang violence. Collaboration remains one of the one and only pathway to encouraging a safe, equitable, diverse downtown. In review of the proposed package, it is unclear how the measures address gun and gang violence. While we do ultimately support many of the proposed changes today, we also must once again urge the enforcement of existing laws such as open container, pre-gaming and post-gaming in parking lots, unwanted sound emanating from vehicles, and the Youth Protection Ordinance. for these are meaningful in our attempt to be an international entertainment destination. This proposal, as is, places the responsibility solely on additional enforcement efforts, not to mention a large monetary burden on downtown business owners themselves. Like you, we as the downtown eating, drinking, dining, dancing community want a downtown that is safe, vibrant, diverse, and economically viable. According to metrics provided by the city, over 30,000 people any given weekend night are seeking just that, 99.999% of them. Gun violence is a national crisis. We understand the need for enforcement. Orlando is not alone in the rise in violence, and nightclubs are not to blame. The Sound of Music is not to blame. We are here, boots on the ground, and we want our patrons and our staff to be safe more than anyone. Sound and violence are not mutually exclusive. We agree with Commissioner Hill, as she said yesterday, guns are our issue, and today. We want to ask once more for you as Orlando residents, community leaders, and elected officials to work. Is that my time?
You can finish your
Thank you, Mayor.
sentence.
Thank you, Mayor. To work with us to find solutions that support the enhancement of public safety in this new age that does also not harm downtown business. We strongly support efforts to make downtown Orlando safe for residents and guests. We must also acknowledge that there are some items in the current proposal that should be adjusted to ensure a balance that does not jeopardize downtown jobs and economy. We look forward to the continued collaboration.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
And just for clarification, this is not the end-all. This is something we've been working on for 6 or 7 months. There are lots of other measures. Downtown's a living, breathing thing that will need nurturing and caring and changing of the diaper every once in a while. So look for other stuff.
Thank you, Mayor.
I appreciate meeting with you guys. Okay, Jeff. Doug, you're on deck.
Thank you, Mayor, Commissioners. Excellent questions, too, by the Commissioners. I make myself available if anybody has any afterwards. From a basic standpoint...
Come over to the mic.
Oh. From a basic standpoint, I'm just very short. My name is Jeffrey Gito. I am a stakeholder of several bars downtown Orlando. I've been a board member of 3 citizen boards, the Manila Museum. I was on Project DTO, Church Street District. I graduated of FAMU. I lived in the Solaire for a while. I live at 104 East Winter Park Street. So I have a, I come from a lot of perspectives. I actually spoke at RHI on this very incident at one of the conventions on violence. In nighttime entertainment districts. I think the mayor, and thank you, Mayor, for inviting us as bar owners to speak on these issues. And of course, David, Jason Burton, Justin, and of course, the illustrious Thomas Chapman. You guys have been very transparent, and you've asked all the questions. And I think that as a group, as bar owners, I'm, as an OHA board member, I think I should tell you that. So when I speak for bar owners, I can, just from my interactions as constituents, right? Everybody was relatively on board with this going forward, and then there was the incident a few Saturdays ago. And the decibel levels were just taken back a little bit. And I don't think anybody would probably be speaking today if it wasn't for that. So I guess really at the end of the day, a lot of stuff that planning department, everybody heard, you guys can hear now a little bit, and I guess for me personally, I can speak for me, it's the logical link of violence and noise that I have a philosophical issue with. There's no direct, we all remember in high school and college, the Venn diagrams and logic, if A and then B, then B, then C. You can't get from noise to gun violence without a lot of assumptions. And I think the purpose of the code is to address the noise and public safety, and of course, all of our residents' livability, right? And you're right, Mayor Dyer, we are a living, growing city. Things have changed. COVID has changed things materially. Commissioner Hill, you could go into Politico and you could read a bunch of articles about increasing gun violence in cities all across the country. And it has data in there too. And I think really what we're talking about is how do we navigate these interstices, right? So the public and the city and the community, the bar owners all know we're doing everything we can. And I think that's where the sweet spot is, right? The public-private collaboration. And I do believe there's a very open dialogue right now between the city and the bar owners. But it's the animus and the bias that I feel that bar owners get a lot. I think COVID really showed it. You could look at everything being shut down. bars being shut down, restaurants being shut down, people having to drink and walk around. That was an immediate thing about people really overarching, really are overarching of people can't control themselves or are drinking. So I just ask that the bars not be held accountable for violence that we can't control outside of the four doors or four corners. Because if noise is violence and inside the venues are more loud than outside, well, there you go on the logic. It would be more violent inside. So I just want to, put all that, shine a light into it, and say thank you to the city, and thank you to the mayor and commissioners, and everybody in the planning department for your questions. If there's any questions,
Doug, and then Shaniqua Rose, and then Hope Bellamy.
Doug Taylor, 7537 St. Stephen's Court, Orlando, Florida 32835. Good afternoon, Mayor Dyer and Commissioners. As I mentioned just a sentence ago, my name is Doug Taylor. I am the managing partner of Church Street Entertainment, a company that I started exactly 30 years ago in our beautiful downtown Orlando. Across our company's history, we have seen the heyday even of Church Street Station. With its prolific visitor count, we have seen the nadir of its economic collapse. We have seen the renaissance on event nights, from the vision and manifest beauty of DPAC, the Amway Center, Camping World Stadium, and Exploria Stadium. And we have seen the business and job-killing destruction of COVID and now potentially violence. Let there be no mistake. There is no one in my company, 280 employees, no one across the membership of the Orlando Hospitality Alliance, no one in food and beverage in downtown that I know who does not realize that public safety is the foundation upon which civil society and commerce flourish. All of us in food and beverage will continue to seek to play our proper role in combating violence in downtown and be a good partner to the city of Orlando. Notably, I know that Church Street Entertainment and many other owner-operators in downtown have continuously utilized the services of OPD's Off-Duty Coordinator Program since April of 1992, over 30 years of partnership from my perspective with the city in enhancing our public safety. We continue to utilize that program today for all appropriate venues that we own. We are not alone in food and beverage in doing that. There are many others of us who do that. Many of our owner-operators have additionally committed to the City of Orlando that we will participate with the City of Orlando Police Department's FUSIS program that will give OPD access to all outward-facing cameras that exist over the public right-of-way installed on our private property, and in some instances even down private alleyways. We want to be a good partner to the City of Orlando. Church Street Entertainment additionally fully supports, as do many other of my industry colleagues, the emergency utilization of coordinated entry checkpoints despite the loss of sales, temporary we hope, they cause, because we know that public safety is the foundation of civil society and of commerce.
Let's kind of wind it up, Doug.
Yes, I'll wind it up. Thank you, Mayor.
You're a southern slow talker. You can't.
Yes,
get
sir.
on that.
I am. One state to the north. What we ask of you as council members and mayor is that you continue to work with us to address this issue in a manner that does not further cause economic harm or job loss. This community of local and social food and beverage experienced intense economic harm from COVID and society's responses to it. We ask you as elected leaders to collaborate with us. Most especially, I think, here in downtown to preserve our rich diversity and the culture of downtown. And I think we can. I think we can find solutions that are violence ending and not business and job killing. We thank you, Mayor and Council. We'd like to thank the staff. I've worked with many of the staff. It's very hardworking people, dozens that have worked very hard. Thank you.
Thank you, Doug. Shaniqua Rose, Hope Bellamy, John Sanfilippo.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Commissioners. Great steps towards fixing the issue. I was a product and participant in the RHI study in 2016. 6 years later, we're still having the same issues. Public safety is supposed to be number one. According to the presentation that was just shown, if you look at the places where the shootings have taken place, they're in dark areas. So I think 6 years later, we should have had upgrades to our lighting throughout the whole downtown to create a safer community for everyone, the patrons at nighttime, as well as the people and the residents who live here. When we talk about the shootings that are taking place downtown, we have to make sure not only the patrons, but we also have to keep our officers safe. Because if you look at where a lot of the shootings take place, officers are in those places, so in those locations. So I think we need to work on upgrading the lighting in the downtown area. We pay consultants to come in and do implementation plans that we need to stick hard to when we talk about creating a safer community for everyone. And that's it.
Hope Bellamy.
Good evening, everyone. Hope Bellamy. I come here today, as council know, when I moved here many years ago, I came from New Jersey. And I was looking at what city to move to that would be keen to growth and technology. And it was a toss-up between Arizona, Orlando, and of course Silicon Valley. But I seen that Orlando was moving forward in technology. I seen that Orlando was becoming the new hub of where the cluster of people that was looking to transform their life, enjoy life at the same time, would come. So I came here. When I came here and I started noticing the downtown area, when I said I'm going to go downtown Orlando, I was looking for like a clothing store, a sneaker store. I was looking for a jewelry store. I was looking for things that are in LA, Chicago, Atlanta, New Jersey, Philadelphia, downtown quarters. Unfortunately, the downtown quarter here in Orlando is more the entertainment hub than a downtown location. Then we wonder why we have a cluster of individuals at night listening to music. I love rap music. I'm in the industry as well. But there's a problem down there. And it's not the business establishments itself. It's not the bar owners, it's not the bar workers. They're not the ones committing the crimes. We have to be honest here and we have to be real here. If you go down there any given night on a Saturday or Friday night, there's a cluster of officers standing around. We got to address the situation here. There's officers there, but they're not moving about. They're communicating amongst each other, laughing and joking on their bikes, on their cars. We talk about safety here for themselves and also the patrons that are down there. So when we don't have the officers doing their job, this we're faced with. If they're mobilizing, walking, riding on their bikes, this is less activity of cluster of hanging around of activity going on. We have to be honest here. We have to look at zoning. We have to look at the planning department. We have to look at why is so many establishments like bars and whoever else being allowed to just get a property here in downtown area. So we over 150 bars in one small location. This is why we have a cluster of people coming here. Where's the ordinance to stop and saying, okay, look, 100 is good enough, 150 is good enough? That's the things that we have to look at on the larger scale. Why are so many bars coming and why are so many people patronize it? It's there. They're going to come. It's not family friendly downtown. Axtron and Dr. Phillips for little kids. Where's the family entertainment down there? We don't have that. So this is where we're faced with issues saying, what is the higher up going to do to prevent these measures of going down like that? As a tech guy, my man came up here to tell you about that data with them numbers on phones. That's inaccurate because both people got two phones in their pocket and they give you double numbers. Please do your research when people come and tell y'all what they're doing.
Okay, thank you. John Filippo, George Melitos, Frank Hamby, and Kate Clodfelter.
Good afternoon, everybody. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
All right, thank you. Mayor, first of all, I'd like to thank you and city commissioners for allowing me to get up here and speak today. I'd also like to thank Mayor, you and your staff for acting so quickly and enhancing safety in downtown Orlando over the last couple of weeks. The checkpoints we think are phenomenal. I'd like to also point out DC Smith. we have a chief now that actually comes to downtown Orlando and walks around at 11, 12, 1, 2, 3 a.m. in the morning. It's great to see that the chief has taken an interest in security in downtown Orlando and actually being part of the process. This last weekend, I think I saw so much captains and lieutenants and sergeants in downtown Orlando walking around, making sure that everybody's going to have a nice time. I really appreciate the opportunity, Mayor, that we had to sit down with you and your staff and some of the stakeholders to discuss improving safety in downtown Orlando. It's important that we continue to do this so we can continue to have the 25,000, 30,000 people returning each and every Friday and Saturday night. For the commissioners that don't know me, my name is John Sanfilippo. I'm sorry, my address is 46 North Orange Avenue here in downtown Orlando. I am the operating partner of the Beecham Entertainment Group. Like the mayor and Commissioner Hill, we're celebrating a birthday too at the Beecham. We will be 100 years old this year. My partnership and I have operated the Beecham for the last 27 years of the Beecham. We'll continue to do it hopefully for the next 20 years. I'm getting up in age. But besides the Beecham, I operate 12 other businesses located in downtown Orlando. It includes a restaurant, 2 restaurant concepts. Of course, we're in the bar, we're in the nightclub business, we're in the live entertainment business, music business. We have a parking lot. Our live concert company produces concerts not only at the Beecham and the Social, but we do shows at DPAC, Dr. Phillips Center. We're part of the Front Yard program that we produce shows there, Hard Rock, House of Blues, and St. Augustine Amphitheater. We also have a nonprofit that we funded, and we fund it through the profits of our businesses. We've also talked our landlord into giving us some of our rent money back to go inside of our nonprofit. It's directed 100% towards the west side of Orlando and downtown communities. This couple weeks ago, we did an event with our nonprofit, and we were part of an event that gave away 1,400 backpacks with school supplies to the children in the inner city that needed help. That's besides what we do in the nightclub business, that's what we're doing elsewhere. Safety is number one for us. We hire a minimum of 4 OPD every Friday and Saturday night at our venues. Last couple of years, we averaged just over $200,000. Obviously, take COVID out of the time that we were closed, but we spend about $200,000 a year with off-duty security to protect our venues. We agree. Can I keep going? Finish?
Just a little bit.
We agree with the spirit of everything that's going on here today. What I'm afraid of is the details that are coming out. Although we agree with the spirit, we agree with the copy points that were made. I think part of our ideas are actually part of all this that's going into it. But the details itself, we just got, or I just received last week, Friday afternoon. And I feel like there could be some unintended consequences that weren't
John,
looked at.
this is first reading, so it means whenever our next meeting is, we'll have a second reading. So there's a lot of time to discuss the stuff that's in this ordinance today.
Perfect. So what I was asking then, if I can meet with city staff who's putting
Yes.
this together and possibly meet with the commissioners with the Beecham Group one-on-one. I understand I have to meet with you all one-on-one, so we can discuss those details. In closing, because I'll close, Mayor, you know that we are completely supportive of increasing safety in downtown Orlando. We want to be part of the solution. We just need to go through these details to see if there's any unintended consequences there that could adversely affect us. Again, I thank you for your time and giving me the opportunity to stand up here and talk. Thank you.
Thank you, George. And then Frank Hamby and Kate Clodfelter.
Good afternoon. Thank you. My name is George Maltezos. I represent the Beecham Entertainment Group as well. I'm one of the operational partners, and I've been working for the Beecham Group for 27 years as well. We started all those concepts that have been there from Zuma Beach to Taboo, brought a lot of innovative things to the city over the last few years. We are also concerned about safety, just like John said. I love downtown. The good people that do frequent our downtown aren't the problem. It's criminals that are the problem, like everyone else has said that's come up here. you know, our facilities are always focused on keeping that type of activity out of our facilities. Now, I think the last piece that we're looking at is doing the same thing for the streets. And I commend the mayor for taking the advice and getting the letters from people in downtown Orlando saying, look, we need checkpoints, we should do checkpoints for the holidays, and now he's also allowed that to go on for the weekend for extra safety measures since the last shooting. These are the types of things that we should all be working together with. You know, this is not the first time that we have enhanced security in downtown. When terrorists were running people over all over the world, we asked that OPD park their cars sideways. We asked for the Ballard Initiative for OPD to put together one for the city of Orlando to keep pedestrians safe when they are in entertainment zones. That has gone through city council as well. So we've always been proactive in security and making sure that the people, the good people that come downtown, are having a good time and they're able to go home, as well as our staff. We employ over 250 people. So it's very, very important that our staff feels safe because, you know, in today's economy and workforce, it's very difficult to get enough employees. And if your employees start feeling that they're not safe, you're not going to get enough to run your businesses. And that's super important to us, and we're super focused on that. As far as the people coming downtown, I think it's a kaleidoscope of people. I think it's all walks of life, colors, creed, whatever you want to call it. We are the most diverse area in Orlando, Orange County, by far. There is no other entertainment area that is diverse as downtown, and it's something to preserve. Like the commissioner said, it's very important that all walks of life are welcome downtown, not just sectors of people. You know, we can look at Winter Park, we can look at Sand Lake, and we can look at all these other districts, okay, but downtown has its own identity, and it's had its identity over the last 30 years, 27 years that I've been there. And I'm just hoping that everything that we're doing is we can move into that direction to keep the diversity downtown, keep it safe, and keep the same people that were you at one time, that people were looking at going, well, those are the young people down there. And now this is a new generation that we're looking at, and sometimes we might not understand that new generation. They're kind of weird to us, their hair's not right, their clothing's not right, but it doesn't mean that they're not good. It just means that they're different. They were you. Look at you now. You're up there. You know, so if we were going to judge you 20 years ago, 30 years ago, that would have been wrong. So I think judging people on their appearance and their look and what they like is the wrong way to go about things. And when you're writing laws and you're writing legislation, I just implore you to consider those things when you're looking at what the city staff is doing. And I love all of them. I talk to all of them. I've been on city boards before, yes. And I just love the city, and I'm really emotionally, you know, held to it. So thank you very much.
We will judge people that bring guns and want to do harm to people, though. Okay, Frank Hamby, Kate Clodfelder, Clinton Salter.
Hi, my name is Frank Hamby, and I'll do my best not to get gonged. So first, I want to thank the mayor and OPD for all the measures they've taken to increase security downtown. I've heard nothing but positive things from my tenants and from other business owners and property owners. My wife and I have owned real estate in downtown since 1989. This includes the Beecham Theater, which, contrary to what John said, is actually over 100 years old. It was built in 1921. So the theater has produced thousands of concerts. It started with vaudeville back in 1921. I've been in the music business for 35 years, and it's hard to believe, but that's still 65 years less than the theater. Shows at the theater include W.C. Fields, Ray Charles, B.B. King, The Police, Talking Heads, Earl Scruggs, and Rick Ross. I mean, there was something for everybody there, but not everybody appreciates or likes everything. In fact, I remember my parents used to tell me the Beatles were devil's music. So, you know, music changes. We all change. We get older, but we've learned in the music business to be flexible. I love the industry. I love the Beecham Theater. To that point, I'm asking you not to adopt some of the things that are in the sound ordinance. It would be impossible for us to continue to do live music or enter any entertainment under the ordinance. This ordinance would require a city official to take sound measurements 50 feet from our speakers. That is actually inside the venue, right in the middle of our dance floor. And again, that's inside the venue. We couldn't be 75 dB. Neither the Beecham, DPAC, Amway, or Hard Rock would be able to comply with any of this. It would kill the music industry. I support a lot of what's in here, and I know that it's not anyone's intention to get rid of live music in downtown, and that's why I think this all needs to be re-examined and to determine what are the unintended consequences. With all due respect to Don McLean, please do not let this be the day that music died in Orlando. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Kate Clodfelder and Clinton Salter.
Hello, my name is Kate Clodfelter. I'm at 46 North Orange Ave in downtown. I've never been in this building and I don't like public speaking, so I'm a little bit nervous, but I hope that speaks to the importance of me being here today. I am the Director of Live Music for Foundation Presents, and I've been employed there since 2018. I got my start and have continued to work with a number of venues, including the Plaza, Will's Pub, the Abbey, House of Blues, Hard Rock, Dr. Phillips Center, the St. Aug Amphitheater, and New Orlando Amphitheater, and many more. Foundation Presents has promoted over 5,000 shows since 2000 and sold over approximately 2 million tickets to our live experiences to not only local residents, but many who have traveled from all over the world. We currently work with mostly national touring acts represented by agencies such as Wasserman, AEG, United Talent Agency, William Morris, High Road Touring, Ground Control Touring, APA, and countless more, while also continuing to support the local music scene of up-and-coming artists. I currently manage and employ 30 full-time and part-time employees who are part of the over 250 total employed in our ecosystem. We are a vital part of the economic and social culture in downtown Orlando as we collectively feed the souls of our proudly diverse community with live music and curated experiences. I'm extremely concerned that this sound ordinance will negatively impact our shows. The sound measurement being taken 50 feet from our stage puts you right in the center of our venue, the Beecham and the Social. It is not possible for live music to be experienced at 75 decibels for 1,300 people, as that is the approximate volume that I'm speaking to this currently quiet room of less than 100 people. I'm afraid this ordinance will greatly hinder my ability to book shows and to bring important music to the community I greatly love and cherish, and I ask that you please consider what I've said to you today, because as you all have touched on, I don't think noise equals violence, it's guns equals violence, and noise equals life. So thank you for what you've done with the checkpoints downtown. It has continued to make myself and our employees feel much safer at work. Thank you.
Thank you. Clinton Salter.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. I am pleased to be here. My name is Clinton Salter, 3464 Diamond Fitz Court, Orlando, Florida, zip code 32805. I'm here in my capacity as a recent board member with the Orlando Urban Film Festival, now in its 9th year. We're having our event scheduled for September 1st through the 5th this year, Labor Day weekend. This year, like all others, we're going to be airing phenomenal independent film products and phenomenal cinematography and acting that really amazes. This recent and current issue dealing with violence It's something that all cities are confronting, have been confronted with. We know well how that works, being the home of one of the most recent, more horrific events in modern history, with the Pulse nightclub. We shouldn't look to government for only for certain solutions. It has to be a collaborative. I spoke with people from the city district, members of the private industry, you know, those operators of our entertainment districts, and many of them agree that tough measures or tough, problems require tough measures. We have to be very sensitive as we enforce them and how we look at them. As the Orlando Urban Film Festival, this year we're ramping up our offerings to include music as well as art in our festival. And we're looking and blessed to have a man whose name, as they say, needs no introduction. Damon Dash is going to be opening our festival, and we hope that our city can receive those thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of people that will be attracted this year to venues like Eola Park all the way to the Plaza CMX 12. I think the city has a stake in ensuring people's peace and the safety of our city of Orlando. And you've done a great and phenomenal job in building the city that we all love and cherish. Love Orlando should be our slogan, because of all that Orlando has provided to so many millions of people. More smiles are given in Orlando than any place else, okay? We're giving more happiness. But at the same time, we have a huge responsibility. And I think along with the help and the support that we've received at the Orlando Urban Film Festival from everybody from the City of Orlando and its Parks Division and Visit Orlando, who has placed us, prominent among their visitor board so that tourists can see something really wonderful in entertainment and offering downtown Orlando. And I don't think we can look at how recent security measures can slow that down. We've got to continue doing the good job we do and putting on the great show. But I think we just have to be sensitive, and I applaud you again. And yet, one more thing, I want to thank you, Mayor, for the opportunity as we had the homegoing for my mother a year and a half ago, that you and commissioners were there present. Commissioner Hill was there throughout the end of all of it, and she got a chance to see all my family that were from backwoods everywhere to come and cherish the life of my mother. But I thank you for the leadership, and as my mother said in her last time in front of this council, she saw you when you were campaigning for House and Senate and supported you in all those times. She said she loves you, and so do we. Thank you so much.
Okay, that is all the cards I have for testimony. Commissioner Burns?
Thank you, Mayor. I wanted to just say that I agree with several of the speakers that music and noise doesn't equal violence, but I think that there's some misunderstanding about what's actually in the ordinance, because I heard it mentioned several times that the measurements will be taken from inside the establishments. So that was a specific question that I asked, and so Elizabeth or someone, if we could address that, because my understanding that it would be 50 feet from the perimeter. So can we provide some clarification around that?
Sure, Commissioner. Yes, thank you. So there is a component in the proposal which clarifies that the reading from code enforcement can be taken at the property line or 50 feet from the source of the noise. The source of the noise is not intended interior of the establishment at all. What you heard me mention before is the mix of uses that we have in downtown. There can be some times where, let's say, a noise complaint is actually called in from directly above the establishment. So you could think about an example like 55 West, let's say, where they are, someone could be directly above the business below to that extent. So taking a reading from the property line would not equate to the experience that the person who is calling saying, hey, it's too loud, is experiencing, because the sound is being directed up. So that component is 50 feet from the source of the noise. So as long as, let's say, code enforcement was out there and they were more than 50 feet from the venue, the code enforcement officer could take it from that point, not inside the venue. That actually is currently also part of the code, is clarifying the way that it's written. And even with code enforcement out now, there's only been 4 violations written over this entire year. So the majority of businesses, when code visits them and they talk to them, code has that discretion to make sure that it's turned down, and it's by no means intended to come in the venue and take readings inside.
So no readings will be taken from inside?
It is not intended, no, it's in the situations like I described.
Okay, all right, thank you.
David, maybe we want to look at language that makes that more clear.
Sure.
If there are people that are reading the ordinance and that is unclear to them, then we ought to make sure that the language of the ordinance is clear.
Happy to do it.
Right, thank you. And Mayor, also, I think we would like to diversify our downtown, but also we have to understand that the demand is going to drive the type of businesses that come downtown. And so I just want us to make sure that we continue to, and I want to encourage the business owners to continue to work with our staff so we can, achieve that inclusive downtown that we're all looking for. But we do have to address the violence and the crime that's happening. So I'm supportive of the ordinance. Would like to get some clarification on that, the noise measurement. But as far as controlling the pre-gaming, or some would call it parking lot pimping that happens during these events, I think that's something that needs to be addressed. Because I think, the perpetrators of some of these activities are probably not the ones who are coming down and patronizing the businesses, but maybe those who are hanging out. And I think that's one of the reasons I'm assuming that staff wants to address that, the music or the outside speakers, because it kind of creates that environment where people will hang out. So I think we have a lot of work to do, but I think with us, working with the business owners, keeping an open mind, maybe seeing things a little differently, I think we can achieve that inclusive downtown that we're all looking for. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Sheehan, then Commissioner Gray.
Parking lot pimping, I didn't know it had a name, Commissioner. I guess I'm gonna get in a little bit of trouble talking about guns, but that's kind of what I do. So, there were some people with concealed weapons permits saying that they were going to come because you can't restrict them being able to come into downtown if they've got a concealed weapons permit. Now, isn't there a prohibition if you've got a concealed weapons permit? You're not supposed to be drinking alcohol while you're carrying? I thought there was. So if they're drinking and they're carrying. Chief, thank you.
I know you can't go into a bar with it.
Okay.
With a concealed weapons permit. You're not supposed to be drinking with it.
Okay.
But as far as how that's written in the law, as far as the state goes, I'm not sure exactly what the wording is. I know you're not allowed to go into a bar or a nightclub with your concealed weapons permit and carry a firearm in that. That's a fact. I just don't know how it's written, the wording,
Okay.
how it is about drinking, if it's got levels. I just don't know what the exact wording is for that part of it.
Yeah, let's look into that and see what, how maybe we can deal with that. And you already answered my question, so you cannot bring the guns into the bars?
No.
Okay, so
No.
the issue is more the guns that are on the street, and of course, I'm completely opposed as someone who has seen the carnage caused by, an assault rifle. I don't want open carry, but I don't know how we're going to be able to control that. If we have an entertainment district where alcohol is served, I don't know if there's any way we can restrict guns in that entertainment district. I don't know if that's something that we can do or look into.
I know legal's looking at that now, especially
Okay.
with our checkpoints. That's one thing legal's looking into.
Yeah, because the checkpoints are not effective. If they've got a concealed weapons permit, they can still bring the gun inside.
Yes, ma'am.
The
That's what legal's looking
area.
into now to
Yeah.
see how we can handle all that.
So like I say, maybe these are some things that we can look into, and why are they bringing guns into an entertainment district where people are drinking?
Yes, ma'am.
And maybe we allow drinks on the street to keep the guns off the street. I don't know. Maybe that's an idea. Maybe we say, okay, you can have open container in the street, and now we can't have guns, because I'd rather have them drinking than shooting each other. So anyway, that's just some ideas I had, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Gray.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll be brief because I know we've still got an agenda to finish here, so I'll be brief. But I did want to weigh in a little bit because it is the first reading. We've got another reading. We've got some time to make some adjustments. And I just want to say thank you to those who are getting involved. It's just my feeling this is the first time, or the most folks we've had address this issue. And as we've said, we can fix problems if people talk about it, and we try to figure it out. And to that extent, I want to congratulate the Orlando Hospitality Alliance. What I heard is you've got plus or minus 35 members. We have plus or minus 100 bars, so we got a third of the group involved. I would encourage you to continue to get the other group involved, because the last thing I want to do as a commissioner is tell you how to operate your business. You got to help us tell how to operate your business so it'll be successful and at the same time keep people safe. And while we're talking about safety, I know there's some discussion about the overreaching police, and maybe the police aren't quite doing their job. Let's look at the facts. There would not be a police officer downtown after dark if they're not ordered to be there. They are not going there. Why aren't they? Because they know it's not safe. I told you the last time, stats. In the last 12 months, we've had 37 battery on either a law enforcement officer or a firefighter. Now, who in their right mind wants to get in? Do the math, folks. That's 3 a month in the entertainment district. So we know by definition it's not a safe place. I think this ordinance is a first step. As the mayor said, we got more things to do, and we'll do it. But the last thing I want to make a point about security, and we're going to start, I always go to money. We're going to start talking about money. This is a very expensive proposition to do security. I think our budget, help me, Mayor, plus or minus $1.8 million, we've dedicated from the CRA to help pay for overtime and policing. That's money that could be going to other areas of our CRA, i.e. social services on the near west side. That's where I would like to spend it. I don't want to spend it on police, taking care of a bunch of people that don't know how to act. So my question is, or people get thinking about, how are we going to keep paying for this security? Do the taxpayers keep paying for problems that others are committing? Or does perhaps some of the folks in the entertainment district pay some kind of extra fee to help pay for some of this security? I don't know, but I think it's a reasonable question to ask, because as I've said before, public safety is a dangerous and expensive business. And so we need to keep that in mind. So Mayor, again, I know it's the first reading, but I just wanted to go on record to say this gentleman has it right. We need a mix of uses downtown, not just one type. We need bars. There's no doubt about it. We need good bars. We need entertainment, music venues, but we also need some fine dining. We need some retail establishments. We need a mix, because it's not just about who wants to go to the bars. As many people that want to come to the bars, we should help them. There's just as many people that would love to come downtown for dinner, and we don't have the environment where people feel comfortable coming down and having a nice dinner and a bottle of wine and enjoying their friends' company. They just don't. So we got to work on that. So thanks everybody for participating. We got more work to do, but I think it's a good start. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Ortiz.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to clarify a couple things here. The statute you're looking for is 79151, subsection 1, subsection 4. Let me read subsection 4. It says, for any person who is under the influence of alcohol, beverage, any chemical substance set forth on 877111, or any substance control under Chapter 893, when affected to the extent that his or her normal faculties are impaired, to use a firearm in the state. And when we talk about use of firearm, it's also included that is readily accessible, so charge having it on it. So that's a reference. The other thing I want to say is many of the issues of violence that we have, we're facing, have to do with our kids having, and younger people, having to learn all these things. Our TV only shows us violence in this day and age. It's not the bar that, is trying to provide entertainment. It's not and we understand that. And there's games that are going on out there that are crazy. All we show is violence, violence, violence. Sadly enough, a lot of this is covered by the First Amendment. There's nothing we can do at this level. We have to address those issues. So we deal with the tools we have at hand. And maybe we need to talk a little more often to the federal government to start looking to see what's the content of the stuff that is on TV. But that's a whole different issue. Gun violence is a national thing. We all know this. But we're tasked, this particular council, we're tasked to solve the issues of the city of Orlando. What's going on at the national level is not an excuse for us to allow for these things to happen at our level. We have to address them. And as I said before, we have to do with the tools that we have at hand. We're trying to work with those who are our best resources, which is our people. And I want to commend Doug Taylor and Dominic Greco for what you added in terms of what we need to be in the lookout for. I think all those things I think with the lighting and with all these grants that we have, I think we can all come together and help each other decide when and where these things need to be implemented. When I ask about the curfew, I didn't mean the curfew during working hours. I meant the curfew after the city's shut down totally. I just want to clarify that. I don't want any misunderstanding. When people are supposed to be home and sleeping, not to shut down any kind of business. I understand the need for us to make money and to bring it to our families, but it's an effort, and I commend everybody for being involved. I think everybody's wanting the best for our city and for our people, and for people to be able to live through this pandemic and all the issues we're having with. And I just want to say thank you for that. And to clarify any aspect that may be lingering around, I think what we're doing today, and David, I want to thank you and the team that is working with you, because you guys have done your due diligence. You have gone to every resource we have out there, and we're working together. And we're going to continue as issues arise, we to continue talking to the community also, to the residents of our cities, because we want those residents to be able to enjoy downtown just like anybody else. That's it. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Commissioner, and thank you, everybody that came in and participated. And as I mentioned, this will be a continued conversation. Even after we pass this, there's a lot more. We all love our downtown and want to make it the best in all of America. So we will continue to strive for that every day. All right, further discussion. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? So the motion carries. Okay, I suspect there are a number of folks that were here just for that, so we're going to take a 2-minute break and let you guys leave if you would like. I do. I just. Okay, as Commissioner Gray mentioned, we do have additional agenda items here. So let's move on to, we're still on ordinances first reading, but item number 3.
Ordinance number 2022-48, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Orlando, Florida, amending the city's growth management plan to change the future land use map designation for certain land generally located west of Bruton Boulevard, south of Prince Hall Boulevard, east of Mary Church Court, and north of L.B. McLeod Road, comprised of 2.165 acres of land, more or less, from residential low intensity to industrial, changing the property zoning designation from 1 family residential to 2 industrial park, providing for amendment of the city's official future land use and zoning maps, providing for severability, correction of scrivener's errors, permit disclaimer, and an effective date.
Move to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Burns, second by Commissioner Hill. Madam Clerk?
No speakers, Mayor.
No speakers, discussion. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Item 4.
Ordinance number 2022-49, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Orlando, Florida, rezoning certain land generally located north of Orange Center Boulevard between South Goldwyn Avenue and South John Young Parkway, comprised of 2.22 acres of land, more or less, from Plant Development Zoning District with the Washington Shores Special Plan Overlay District to 1 to 5 Family Residential Zoning District with the Washington Shores Special Plan Overlay District, amending the Boca Club Apartments Plan Development Zoning District to amend the legal description, providing for amendment of the city's official zoning maps, providing for permit disclaimer, correction of scrivener's error, severability, and an effective date.
Move to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Burns, second by Commissioner Sheehan. Madam Clerk?
No speakers, Mayor.
No speakers, discussion. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Number 5.
Ordinance number 2022-51, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Orlando, Florida, relating to a street name change, renaming Marquise Court, which is described in the plat of Clear Lake Cove according to the plat thereof as recorded in Plat Book 1, page 88 of the Public Records of Orange County, Florida, generally located between Monte Carlo Trail and Piedmont Street to Nelson Pinder Circle, directing amendments to the official maps of the City of Orlando, Florida, providing for severability, correction of scrivener's error, and an effective date.
So move.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Hill, second by Commissioner Burns. Madam Clerk?
No speakers, Mayor.
No speakers, discussion. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, so the motion carries. Okay, item number 6 is the first reading of ordinance 2252, which relates to the sign code regarding billboard removal incentives. It also relates to the legislative appeal that we have under appeals today, so if there's no objection, I'm going to defer item 6 until we have had the opportunity to hear the appeal. So we'll hear the appeal and then we'll come back and take up item number 6, if there's no objection. Okay, item number 7.
Ordinance number 2022-53, an ordinance of the City of Orlando, Florida, amending and restating the land development regulations of the Lake Nona Plan Development Zoning District relating to certain land generally located north of the Orange-Osceola County line, south of Dowden Road, east of Boggy Creek Road, and west of Narcoossee Road, and comprised of 9,044.20 acres of land, more or less, providing for amendment of the city's official zoning maps, providing for severability, correction of scrivener's error, permit disclaimer, and an effective date.
Move to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Gray. Was that you, Commissioner Ortiz, on the second? Second by Commissioner Ortiz. Madam Clerk?
No speakers, Mayor.
No speakers, discussion. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Okay, item number 8.
Ordinance number 2022-54, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Orlando, Florida, amending the city's growth management plan to designate certain land generally located east of South Orange Avenue, south of Highway Place, and east of South Magnolia Avenue, comprised of 0.51 acres, more or less, as mixed-use corridor medium intensity on the city's official future land use maps, designating the property as a medium-intensity mixed-use corridor zoning district with the SODO Special Plan Overlay District on the city's official zoning maps, providing for amendment of the city's official future land use and zoning maps, providing for severability, correction of scrivener's error, permit disclaimer, and an effective date.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Sheehan, second by Commissioner Hill. Madam Clerk?
No speakers, Mayor.
No speakers, discussion. Hearing none, all in favor indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Number 9.
Ordinance number 2022-55, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Orlando, Florida relating to pools and screen enclosures, amending Chapter 58, Part 5B11, Land Development Code to amend setbacks for pools and screen enclosures, providing legislative findings, and for implementation, codification, correction of scrivener's error, severability, and effective date.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Ortiz, second by Commissioner Sheehan. Madam Clerk?
No speakers, Mayor.
No speakers, discussion. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. 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 Those opposed? So the motion carries. We're going to move to our legislative appeal. So this next item is a legislative recommendation made by the MPB to City Council at its meeting on May 17, 2022. The MPB considered a proposed amendment to add certain billboards to the digital billboard incentive list. After conducting a public hearing, the MPB recommended approval of the proposed amendment. They recommended approval. This appeal followed. Section 2.179 of the Orlando City Code gives the appellant and city staff each 10 minutes to present their case. Let's begin with background from Jason Burton, our Assistant City Planning Division Manager, and then we'll hear from the appellant.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council persons. My name is Jason Burton. I work with the City Planning Division. We're here to talk today about a legislative appeal for billboard removal incentives that are in the code. We're adding 9 potential locations to the billboard incentive list. This is after direction from the mayor. Following a discussion last time we considered a billboard change in early April of this year. Just a little bit of history. We have prohibited new billboards throughout the city since the year 2000. A decade later, we established a digital exchange program where you trade in 4 faces, you get 1 digital billboard. There's certain criteria for where those can go, and I'll go over those later on. Later on in 2013, we expanded that program to include protected view corridors as well as surface streets, but they have to be federal highway age surface streets, and when you trade a majority of the faces from said corridors. In 2017, there's a bonus billboard exchange program where we lowered that ratio for trade to 3-to-1 for certain Main Street area billboards that are part of a trade. Today, we're taking those 3-to-1s and expanding them to include all of the different Main Street billboards that, since the Main Street districts have expanded over time, and we've added a few, so I'll be going over that a little bit later on. And earlier this year, we changed some of the separation criteria for digital billboards across limited access highways and reduced them from 1,500 to 1,000 feet. A little bit of basics about exchange rules, and you've probably heard about this before. We have a 4-to-1 ratio, 3-to-1 in certain circumstances. There's also a 400-foot from residential properties or historic districts, or 100-foot from a hotel and motel separation for digital billboards. There's also a place where you can have them within 150 feet of certain limited access highways or designated state arterials. They're also allowed within certain non-residential zoning districts, so they're not allowed within residential zoning districts. They also have light requirements for maximum foot candles, and they can't change or have video displays on them, so that they follow a national guidance of an 8-second rule, if you will. This particular code amendment was started after our deliberations last on digital billboards at our April 4th meeting earlier this year, where folks urged us to add certain billboards to the exchange incentive list, which is that lower 3-to-1 ratio. The mayor said, let's return to the planning board to reconsider, because we just don't want to willy-nilly add items to that particular list without taking into consideration what would totally be eligible. The 3 that you see in the outline here that are highlighted were the 3 that were discussed at that meeting, but taking the criteria of any billboard that's within the contractual boundaries of a current Main Street district, we found 9 total billboards, so kind of expanded the total amount of billboards that might be eligible for this, which we made a recommendation to the Municipal Planning Board.
That was appealed, obviously, and some of the issues is it consistent with the growth management plan, which the Municipal Planning Board came to account? There's some very specific policies in regards to how we allow for billboard exchanges that's within our growth management plan, and we're allowed to adopt things into our land development code in order to make those exchanges possible. It's the other findings that we found is it's in the public interest because there's a way to reduce the amount of billboards throughout the city is for the good, particularly within our Main Street areas where we should incentivize for their removal. It also provides that incentive, like I mentioned, within a particular area, the Main Street districts themselves. It encourages the removal from those particular areas. And of course, orderly development includes that incentive for removing them from the Main Street areas. There's no other applicable laws, so the staff conclusion is that we deny the legislative appeal and then accept the Municipal Planning Board minutes and recommendations for this particular item. And that's all that I have.
Commissioner Ortiz, do you have a question?
I'm sorry, Jason, you were talking a little low. It was hard to get everything you said, but I guess from some of that and a list that I see of locations, these are the ones that you guys are proposing that get exchanged in the future for as a 3-to-1 ratio?
That would be correct. So on
And one of those is the one that the appellant keeps pointing out?
Yeah, you'll have to ask the appellant what her reasons for appealing it.
No, I'm
but-
not asking
but-
the reason. Is
but
one of those,
there's-
is that particular one that he's
Correct.
on this list?
The one that I think was in question is the one at 2021 East Colonial Drive, or it's 3122 East Colonial Drive, that's owned by Clear Channel number 185, that's on the list on the screen in front of you. But there's a total of 9 potential billboards to add to that exchange incentive list, which would go to the 3-to-1 ratio.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, other questions for Commissioner Hill?
Yeah, is that the one that was at the jewelry store there on Colonial and?
McGuire.
Or, I'm not sure.
McGuire.
McGuire.
Yes. So I believe that's the one at 3122 East Colonial Drive. That was the subject of, I think Commissioner Stewart had mentioned that at the original hearing on April 4th. So that's one of the ones that's highlighted here. If you also remember, some other members of the public got up and asked to add additional billboards. Those are the other 2 that you see on the list. But now we've gone
So
through.
the idea was it would give additional incentive for them to do away with that sign.
Correct.
Okay, let's hear from the appellant.
Thank you, City Council. May it please the council, my name's Chris Turner. I represent the appellant in this case, or matter. Colonial LLC and its principal, Rosemary Huffman. Colonial LLC is the property owner at 3100 East Colonial Drive in Orlando at 32803, which is located on the southeast corner of McGuire and East Colonial. We are the appellant in this legislative appeal. And again, the history was just gone over, but at a prior city council meeting, the city staff was asked to review the criteria for including additional incentive billboards in main streets, and that is what was done at the Municipal Planning Board meeting on May 17th. So, and we would like to thank the City Council for adding all of these boards to the incentive list. We think that is a good idea. We are not objecting to that. What we're pointing out is that there is, and I heard this phrase a couple other times today, unintended consequences. The potential unintended consequences of adding all of these boards to the incentive list. The incentive program was created to advantage main streets because it encouraged billboard removal from those streets. And again, while we support removal of them from the main streets, the problem is that it's going to increase the incentive to convert from a static board to a digital board in those main streets. Currently, Orlando allows swapping and conversion of the same face of a traditional billboard to a digital billboard. So if a billboard, take for example the one by the jewelry store at Colonial McGuire that we were just talking about, that same face, which is now static, can be converted to digital at a lower ratio now because it's incentivized. The lowered swap ratio of 3 to 1 rather than 4 to 1 will make those more valuable to convert to digital billboards, and because now they get to preserve an outdoor advertiser will get to preserve that board placement and just convert it to digital. So yes, it will remove other boards at a lower ratio, but that particular board will remain there as a digital board. And if the goal of the incentive program is to remove billboards from the main streets, shouldn't it also be a goal to not have digital billboards in our main streets? So the purpose for the appeal and what we're asking that the City Council consider is that they consider the unintended consequences in adding to this legislation that says, yes, add all of these boards to the incentive list, but at the same time, let's prohibit any digital billboard conversions within the main streets. There's still plenty of boards that can be converted outside of the main streets, and then the swap program that incentivizes the main street boards will then really, I think, achieve its goal because it'll be removing boards from the main streets and moving them elsewhere. So far, there have been no digital billboards placed in main streets. There is one digital billboard in the Milk District at 2800 East Colonial, but that was in place before the area joined the Milk District. And while there is protection against new traditional billboards in main streets, there is no protection from digital billboards. And again, the current limitation on converting a static billboard to a digital billboard in main streets, they cannot be within 400 feet of residential or within 1,000 feet of another digital board. So some billboards, static billboards in main streets are currently protected from being converted to digital, but not all. And we think a more equitable approach for all of main streets would be to just prohibit digital billboards in main streets. The slide up on here on the board or on the computer screen, the 4 that are highlighted are 4 that are not within 400 feet of residential, and potentially, I don't know the distance from another digital board, but we know the one at 3122 East Colonial Drive is more than 1,000 feet from another digital board, so potentially that one could be converted to a digital billboard from a static billboard. And it's now more likely, because this ordinance is going through, it's being added to the incentive list, it's now more likely that that board will be converted because, again, when they're taking down the static face, they now only have to take down at a 3 to 1 ratio rather than a 4 to 1 ratio. Commissioner Ortiz and Commissioner Hill asked at a previous council meeting in February if we had spoken to the board of directors for the Milk District about digital billboards. In fact, the board of directors for the Milk District recently took this up, and on July 11th of 2022 wrote a letter to the City Council opposing digital billboards, which is on the screen now. This is a copy of the letter that was sent to Commissioner Ortiz as well as the other commissioners. The members of the Milk District Board are of the opinion that digital billboards are a visual blight, that they're a safety hazard to drivers, bicyclers, and pedestrians because they are distracting, that they create light pollution, and they do not promote Main Street values such as sustainable growth, community revitalization, beautified city centers, people-centered design, and equitable redevelopment. We were also asked at a previous council meeting if we had discussed the digital billboard issue with any of the neighboring landowners. The Fashion Square project is the neighboring landowner on the northeast corner of East Colonial and McGuire. Mr. Chuck Whittall spoke in opposition to a 2020 application for a variance to convert to a digital billboard at 3122 East Colonial. Mr. Chuck Whittall is the president of Unicorp, which is the landowner at the Fashion Square project. And I would like to play for you what he said about digital billboards in the area at the 2020 BZA meeting. I believe.
Are there any other speakers, Mr. Peterson?
Yes, Chuck Whittall. See if we can hear him this time.
Sure.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, sorry about that. I was doing it from a different office and it didn't go through.
In the back. You said you were going to play.
I think Rosemary did a good job. I personally was just notified of this a couple days ago by Rosemary.
If you could state your name and address for the record, please.
I'm sorry, Chuck Whittall, Unicorp National Developments, 7940 Via Bellagio Way, Orlando, Florida, 32819.
Thank you.
We're the owner of the Fashion Square project adjacent this proposed billboard site. And as Rosemary stated, I did not even receive notice. I received notice from Rosemary, who asked me to get involved in this. So I'm not completely familiar with it, but what I am familiar with is that we are planning a major redevelopment of the Fashion Square Mall. And
That was it.
see if we can hear this time.
Sure.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, sorry about that. I was doing from a different office and it didn't go through. I think Rosemary did a good job. I personally was just notified of this a couple days ago by Rosemary.
Sorry, if you could state your name and address for the record, please.
I'm sorry, Chuck Liddell, Unicorp National Developments, 7940 Via Bellagio Way, Orlando, Florida, 32819.
Thank you.
We're the owner of the Fashion Square project adjacent this proposed billboard site. And as Rosemary stated, I did not even receive notice. I received notice from Rosemary, who asked me to get involved in this. So I'm not completely familiar with it, but what I am familiar with is that we are planning a major redevelopment of the Fashion Square Mall, and we would be concerned that, just in general, how that affects the area. The current mall is blighted. It's got, 50% of the mall is closed, and it needs to be redeveloped. And the way things are being developed throughout Central Florida now are without billboards and without pole signs and going to monument signs and doing things that will be more sustainable in the future. So, as a property owner doing redevelopment, we would like to understand it more, but, I would generally have an objection because billboards just change the character of the area. And I think with, what needs to be done on the Highway 50 corridor, what needs to be done for redevelopment of Fashion Square and other properties that are clearly showing blight in the area, I don't think this is helpful for that development. So I would ask at minimum that you postpone it or deny the request. And that's all I have to say, if anybody has any questions.
We also spoke with Virginia Ann Rodriguez, who wrote a letter to the City Council on July 27th, 2022, opposing a digital billboard at East Colonial and McGuire. She's the property owner at the southwest corner of East Colonial and McGuire. And I've highlighted a portion of her letter, and she writes, quote, "We are a local shopping area, not a tourist or entertainment area, and digital billboards have no place in the vision of future redevelopment of our neighborhood as a town center and mixed-use area with supportive retail, nor do they belong in any Main Street areas." Finally, I discussed this issue with Mr. Jason Burton over the past couple of months. He's probably tired of taking my phone calls. And it's my understanding that the city staff is not taking a position one way or the other on our request to prohibit digital billboards in main streets. It's my impression from our phone calls that they would not oppose a request from the City Council to prohibit digital billboards in our main streets, but that's something that would have to come from the council first. So lastly, we believe that this would be consistent with the comprehensive plan for our main streets, and we thank the City Council for its time, and I look forward to any questions that you may have about what our request is or what our position is. Thank you.
So if we uphold your appeal, it has nothing to do with prohibiting digital billboards?
No. If you uphold the appeal, we're just pointing out that perhaps something that was overlooked, that we brought up at the Municipal Planning Board meeting, was that this could lead and will lead to additional digital billboards in our main streets. And if the goal is to reduce billboards in our main streets, which is the point of the incentive program, why not also include disallowing digital billboards in the main streets at the same time?
That wasn't what was before the MPB, though.
That was...
It was adding these additional billboards. We can take yours out. You want us to take the one in front of Ms. McGuire's building out and not have it be an incentive board?
No, we want it to be an incentive board. We want
and that's all that's before us right now.
Okay, well, okay. The comments that were raised at the MPB board were pointing this out, that this was a...
I know you want to make the argument related to not having digital billboards. I'm just suggesting that's not the appropriate place because that's not what is before us right now. That would be another policy that we've actually already taken a stance on, but in any event. All right, questions, Commissioner Ortiz?
I was going along the lines of what you were saying, but And I understand you brought in some letters, a letter that was written to me and possibly to Commissioner Hale, but that was only one. Main Street, we have what, 10, 12, 11, 12 Main Streets, including the, so have you gotten, you want to ban all these billboards from all the Main Street? I guess you got to get all the Main Streets to be on board with this, and has to be brought up as part of, we got to go through the whole process also. So we're here to do what the people ask us to do in our districts. So it's not my personal opinion. It's not that I want to or don't want to. I mean, it's a matter of consensus, and we're representing our people. So we have to go through certain channels here.
So we thought we were helping you out a little bit to the extent we could to make your sign more desirable to trade in, since it would be one of the 3-to-1 signs.
And we appreciate that, yes.
Okay. Commissioner Hill.
Yeah, and I agree, Mayor, especially with a district such as mine that expands from downtown to Creative Village, Paramore, and the West Lakes, which depend on these waymaking type of billboards and different, more so digital. It might impact, as you say, in an indirect way, those business owners in different events that I'm having in a negative way, to not allow digital billboards. That's something that business owners and those that are in my Creative Village, West Lakes area, and Paramore, they've been actually, and I think Jason can state this, they've been working on this for 6-7 years, and we still haven't quite gotten there with some of the digital plans that they have. So I agree with Commissioner Ortiz that, it represents one main street, but we have multiple main streets that we haven't even convened with that agreed with this digital billboard component.
Commissioner Sheehan.
Thank you, Mayor. And as everybody knows, I am no fan of billboards. I call them litter on a stick, and my dear friend Craig and I have had to have knockdown dragouts about this at Clear Channel more than a few times. So I'm more than happy to get them out. As a matter of fact, part of the impetus between the getting them out of off of Colonial, getting them off of Mills Avenue, getting them out of the residential areas, and if you look, I mean, I'm delighted that a lot of these are right next to R1A. That's a very residential area. So I'm delighted to see that there's incentives to get these away from where people are having to look at them from their homes. But again, if it was up to me, if I were queen, which I'm not, I'd blow them all up, but I can't. So, we've got to negotiate with the companies because they have property rights. So while I think that this billboard will probably go away as part of the incentive program, I don't want to blow up the baby with the bathwater, and I certainly don't want to kill a gnat with a sledgehammer and have it happen citywide, especially if my colleagues aren't in support of it. So, I mean, the idea, I think, would be to try to incentivize this one at 3100 that they're so upset about, and work on that specific one as opposed to changing the entire policy.
Okay, further? Commissioner Ortiz. Yep.
For Jason. Jason, Clear Channel owns this particular billboard that has been so it's controversial, right?
That's correct, sir. And just to assure the council as well as the appellant, that billboard is only available to get the incentive if the billboard is demolished. So if one of the faces is traded in to create a digital billboard in situ on site at that particular location, it's only when the billboard is removed does it get the 3-to-1 incentivized ratio, which was an unintended consequence that was mentioned. So we too, in that particular exchange, if you will, if that were to happen, it's only if that billboard is removed. So it's not if it becomes a digital billboard, you get a 3-to-1 incentive.
So with the mayor's respect, and can you just give us the choices here we have?
Yeah, your choices here is basically, do you want to include it as an incentive billboard, or you want it off the list? And I think you all can realize, as Commissioner Sheehan said, there's some incentive towards putting them in places away from people's homes, is the true and compatible use.
But this one is not anywhere near anybody's home.
Correct. The closest.
This is on a
Closest
commercial
residential, even multifamily projects over a quarter mile away, if I remember correctly.
There's property rights and all these different things going on, so, all right, appreciate it. Thank you, Mayor.
Yeah, it doesn't make it any more or less likely that it'll end up being a digital billboard, but it makes a little, I'll concede, probably just a little more likely that they'll take it down. So the motion would be to deny the appeal.
Move to deny the appeal.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicates so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Okay, so that would take us back to the ordinance that would implement this. Madam Clerk, you want to read it?
Ordinance number 2022-52, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Orlando, Florida relating to digital billboards, amending Chapter 64, Part 3, Section 64.277 of the Land Development Code to update the incentive billboard list, clarifying terms, providing legislative findings, and for codification, correction of scrivener's error, severability, and an effective date.
Motion by Commissioner Sheen, second by Commissioner Hill. Madam Clerk?
No speakers, Mayor.
No speakers, discussion. Hearing none, all in favor of the motion indicate so by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, so the motion carries. Ed, would you get us prepared for general appearance, please?